her employer, Sarah Adams, for lost wages and pain and suffering from a dog bite.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2177, Bazine versus Adams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bazine, you had a job as a dental assistant. Is that right?
Yes.
And you went to school for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you go to school?
Medical Institute?
Did you graduate?
Yes.
I gather you didn't like it.
No.
I say that because you didn't stay in that career path for very long. Just for my own curiosity, I come from a long family of dentists. Tell me why you didn't like being a dental assistant. Had to be a reason.
Cleaning people's teeth and having them fight you and tell you that they don't have cavities when they do.
You didn't like the whole experience?
Yeah, all the explaining you have to do.
Okay, got it. Wasn't for you.
No.
You've got it in your hip pocket should you ever need it again, right?
Yeah.
You have the degree. In any event, the defendant was a patient of yours. She came in as a patient?
Yes.
And you got to know each other, according to you. And she offered you a job at a place that she manages. You managed a store. What kind of store?
It's an appliance store, so we sell scratch and dent appliances.
When was that?
Oh, geez. This had to have been in May.
May of 2022?
Correct.
Is that when you started working in the store?
I started July 3rd.
That was your start date? And what were your duties?
Sales rep, she taught me how to sell the scratch and dent appliances, how to run the store and help her manage it. I was making more commission, so I did take the job besides the dental office.
So you worked in the dental office too?
No.
You left the
I
dental
left
office?
the dental office so I could pursue more money.
Okay. And you did make more money?
Yes.
There came a time, according to what I read in the complaint, that you, Miss Adams, asked the plaintiff to do an outside job for you.
No, that was not correct. So
Tell me how it happened that she ended up at your house.
what happened was I was going to take my lunch to take my kids who were at home lunch because they were on school break. She offered to go.
How old are your children?
16, 13, and 10. She offered to go in my place that she wanted a break. She clocked out for her lunch. I gave her money to go, one, pick up the food, and two, a little bit of gas money. She then went to my house.
Just a minute, we're not there yet. She clocked out for her lunch break.
I was clocking out at work.
Shh. And you're the store manager?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long do you get for a lunch break?
An hour.
That's an hour during the day. That's yours.
Correct.
Now, from the store where she clocked out, to the place where she was supposed to pick up lunch for your children, how far was that? Because you said you gave her gas money, so it wasn't around the corner.
15 minutes away.
And how far from this place where she got the food is your house?
Right down the road.
5 minutes.
Not even 2.
2 minutes, 17 minutes. And then she's got to get back.
Correct.
So that's almost 40 minutes
Correct.
out of her 1 hour lunch. So she was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you just say that? So you made me go through this whole exercise. It was more than half her lunch. It gave her 15 minutes for lunch. She was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she ask you to do her this favor?
Yes.
Tell me how she asked you to do her this favor.
Wouldn't go through when we were ordering the food. I was already on my way home. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was ready to go. She said, go ahead, here's some money, deliver the food to the children. Thank you for your help.
Did you have to pick up the food?
Yes.
Okay, she
I
gave
went
you
to
money.
the drive-thru, sat in the drive-thru, ordered the food, drove to her house.
So is what you're telling me that you did not volunteer?
No, I was going home and then canceled, and I said, okay, I'm on my way home anyway.
Oh, so get back, step back. Did you order food
I
to send
did,
to your
and it
kids?
did not go through.
Okay, so you ordered food to get there, and this was lunchtime.
Correct.
And how did you find out that they canceled?
They sent me a notification to my phone.
To your phone?
Correct.
And what time was that?
1 o'clock, 1:15.
Had you already taken your lunch break?
No, ma'am. Most days I do not.
So you're in the store all day?
I am.
Well, then it would seem to me she had to find out that they canceled because you said that they sent the note to you.
We work right next to one another.
I don't know, she wasn't looking over at your phone.
Right.
She wasn't looking over at your phone. If you work right next to each other, common sense would dictate you said something, oh, whatever. Well, what expletive you used, they canceled my order.
Correct.
Could you take stuff to my kids for lunch?
I was going to do it. She offered.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day. Now you thought about it and you thought about your defense and you did in fact, according to you, just remember something, because here's 20 bucks. Would you take the food, drop it off for the children? And in addition, voila, you said to her,
Please do not go in my house. My dog is aggressive.
Mila Bazin claims her former employer, Sarah Adams, owes for injuries from a dog bite. Sarah is countersuing for harassment and slander.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day.
Yes.
Okay.
But on
and
this
she was ready to leave.
No, so she was leaving for her lunch.
No.
I was going to leave and take the kids' food. Mila stated she wanted to go out of the store. She needed a break. So I told her, okay, if you want to clock out and take your lunch, if you will do this for me, I will give you an extra $20 for gas. She said, okay, no problem. So it was doing me a favor.
That's what I want you to say.
Yes.
She was doing me a favor because I wanted to get my 16-year-old lunch that she couldn't get for herself.
Correct.
Well, that she couldn't walk around the corner and get for herself, or open the freezer and put it in a toaster, right?
Right.
Okay. So you had one of your subordinates go to your house and deliver the food. That's the bottom line. You had one of your subordinates, because you were in the store where you stay all the time, you had one of your subordinates, gave her 20 bucks, here's a little gas money for you, go pick up the food and bring it to the house. By the way, your 16-year-old doesn't get around?
No, she's not driving it.
She walks.
Correct, but I don't like my children to leave the house.
In the middle of the day, 1 o'clock?
Correct.
Okay.
Not in this world that we live in.
Okie dokie. Anyway, here's 20 bucks. Thank you. Did you say anything else to her?
No.
Has she ever been to your house before?
Not at that time, no.
Prior to giving her money and say, could you pick up the food and drop it off, she had not been to your house before.
Correct. I did state to her before she left.
Just a second. She had not been to your house before.
Correct.
Now you thought about it and you thought about your defense, and you did, in fact, according to you, just remember something, because here's 20 bucks. Would you take the food, drop it off for the children? And in addition, voila, you said to her,
Please do not go in my house. My dog is aggressive.
And that's why
I did tell her to call me when she got there. I would call my daughter, have her go out and get the food. And Your Honor, I do have a video of my Ring doorbell of what happened.
I'm going to watch that.
Okay.
Because what happened was there was a lot of food, according to what I've read. It needed
3 children.
It needed 2 trips. Daughter took in some, she took the other, and she was bitten by your pit bull.
Correct, but I told her, do not go in my house.
And she was bitten by your pit bull.
Yes, in my home.
She wasn't trespassing in your house, madam. She wasn't burglarizing your house. She was bitten by your pit bull. That's
Right,
what the
but
case is about.
She was told not to go into my house.
If I believe you.
I have evidence.
I'm going to look at it.
Okay.
If I believe you, whether I believe you or not, she was bitten in your house by your dog. How old is your pit bull?
7 years old.
Where did you get her?
From the pound.
So you went to get food. You took your car and you went to get food. And you picked up how many bags of food for the 3 children?
There's at least, I think, 2 bags, or 1 big bag, and then 2 drinks. 3 drinks in total. I had to carry 1 drink back in behind April. I should have waited in the car, but
Now, why should you have waited in the car?
because
Why?
now that I'm bitten, I say that.
Well, what would have made you think that you should be waiting in the car?
No reason.
Did Miss Adams say to you when you left,
No, Your Honor.
text me when you get there, my daughter will come out?
Yes, to make it easier for me, but not because she told me she had a killer dog.
Did she tell you she had any dog?
No, I knew of one little dog, her little Mookie, her baby Chihuahua dog.
Your Honor, I bring a dog with me to work every day.
That you
I pick
just
it up.
got while I was
Just a
working
second.
there.
Just a second. Don't interrupt. She said she knew of one little dog, a Pekingese. That's all you knew about.
I knew of her Chihuahua at the time. The Pekingese came later. She inherited her dad's dog, but all I knew of was her little Mookie Chihuahua. I also have a Chihuahua. I thought we both had Chihuahuas. I would not go to anyone's house if they had a killer pit bull. Pit bulls, period.
Okay, you picked up the food, you got to the house, what did you do?
April came out to the car, grabbed what she could. I had the remainder drink. I got up and followed Miss April inside the house. Once we got to the door...
Is April the 16-year-old?
Yes.
That's you?
Mm-hmm. Once she stepped inside, I stepped in behind her. She turned around to grab it, and the dog was right there.
Let's step up.
Bit my leg.
Okay. April, do you have friends?
Yeah.
Do they drive?
No.
None of them?
No.
And do you live in a rural area, or are there stores there?
There's some stores down
What
two
kind?
streets.
Oh, yeah, what kind of stores?
A grocery store.
Yeah. So if you wanted to and you were hungry, you could have gone to the grocery store and gotten something for lunch. Is not an answer.
Yes.
So on that day, let me make sure what day we're talking about here. July 18th. On July 18th, you and your siblings were home for the day?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about the conversation you had with your mother about ordering lunch.
My siblings were hungry and wanted something new, so I asked my mother.
You called your mother at work?
Yes, I called my mother at work to ask if she can order some food.
What time did you call your mother?
It was around 1.
And that's all you said to her? And what did your mother say?
She said, yeah.
She said yes, but she must have also said, what do they want? I mean, they didn't want to go to the grocery store, so she said, what do you want?
She said, I can order McDonald's, and I said, that's fine.
She said, I can order McDonald's, and?
And I said, that's great, that's okay, thank you for doing that.
Okay. Now, she called you later to tell you that they had canceled the order.
Yes.
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 And what did she say when she said they canceled the order?
She said that Mila was coming over to drop off the food, and she already told her about...
No, don't make things up as we're going. Be very careful when you talk to me.
Yeah.
She said Mila is on her way over with the food.
Yes.
Now, Mila came over, she pulled her car up in front of your house,
Yeah.
and did you see her pull the car up in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay, did you come outside?
Yes.
All right. Came outside. Did she get out of the car? We're going to go step by step. She got out of the car.
No.
She stayed in the car.
Yes.
And you took a bag.
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay. But that wasn't all the food there was.
Yes. I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to
No,
you?
Your Honor.
I didn't hear you say to her when she turned around, stay out there. I didn't hear you say that to her. Do you understand? I didn't hear you, and I heard everything. Say that to her. She had one drink that she was going to give you, and she actually leaned over to give it to you. I didn't hear you say anything to her.
Mila Bazin is accusing her former employer, Sarah Adams, of refusing to pay for injuries caused by her pit bull. Sarah claims Mila already agreed to a $300 settlement.
Now, she got out of the car.
No.
She stayed in the car.
Yes.
And you took a bag.
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay. But that wasn't all the food there was.
Yes. I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to
No,
you?
Your Honor. I was just nice and got out of the car and followed her.
Yeah, you didn't have that much of a discussion. It doesn't make sense that you had that much. So there was a drink left?
Yes.
So she was walking in following you with the one drink?
No.
She didn't follow you into the house with the one drink?
And not until later.
What do you mean not until later? What happened in between the fact that you grabbed the food and 2 drinks, there was a drink left, now she's out of the car.
I didn't realize she was out of the car. I thought she would stay on the car. So I'm walking over to the house to open the door.
Okay, now I want you to point to some place in this room where the car was and where your front door was. Make believe I'm the car. Point to some place in this room. If it has to be more, you can say it's twice that distance, twice the distance from the front and the back of the courtroom, or half the distance, or it's the same distance. How far is it from the car to your house?
The car was right here, and our
No,
door...
I'm the car.
Yeah.
And how
Car.
far away is front door?
About right here, not that far away.
Where?
Where those...
So maybe 20 feet.
Yes.
Now I'm going to look at your video.
Give me a towel.
I'm so sorry.
Give me a towel, hurry.
I didn't hear you say to her when she turned around, stay out there. I didn't hear you say that to her. Do you understand? I didn't hear you, and I heard everything. Say that to her. She had one drink that she was going to give you, and she actually leaned over to give it to you as you were in the door. I didn't hear you say anything to her. Stay outside, don't come near here. That's a long walk. I didn't hear you. Is that because you didn't say it?
No, before the video, when I went to get, she was inside
Oh,
the
we're going to
car.
hear it again. We're going to go right from the beginning. I heard you speak to your brothers, open the door, food's here. I heard that. I didn't hear anything else. I may have missed it. We're going to play it again. You turn around, you saw her walking in after you. Okay. Anyway, Miss Bazin, as a result of this dog bite, according to you, you had some serious medical issues. It became infected, couldn't work for a period of time. Do you have any of the medical records?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them.
I have them, the bill and the records. You want just the records?
Yeah, both.
Color coordinated by paper clips.
Does the job that you had give you health insurance?
So I have access with Arizona, and they pay up a percentage of it, but not everything.
Do you have what is left over that is your
So they wouldn't give me until the end of the year, I guess, but that's what they billed me, and they keep calling me every day saying I have.
Your Honor, I have a text message from Mila saying that she had unlimited health insurance
what
and
I
they can
thought
bill her for whatever she wants.
That's
Okay.
I would like
before
to
I knew
present
was
that
going
for
into
you.
surgery.
Let's try not to talk to each other.
Also, Mila went to the hospital 4 times, and I have records of all of that and what they did each time per her text messages.
Yeah,
And I have pictures of the bite when it happened if you'd like to see that as well.
she has it. You don't have to prove her case. I'm sure you have pictures.
Yes,
Yes, I'm sure. How long were you on antibiotics?
for at least almost like 2 months off and on. I had to go back multiple times and have it aspirated.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, got infected. Do you rent or own your own home, Miss Adams?
I rent it.
You have renter's insurance?
I do.
Did the renter's insurance that you have, is the company aware of the fact that you had a pit bull?
Yes, and it is extremely hard to find a place to rent with a pit bull.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked you whether your insurance, your renter's insurance, had a provision that excluded the insurance from a pit bull bite.
I do not recall, no.
What state do you live in?
Arizona.
What's the name of the company?
It's through our insurance on the car. But I'm not 100%.
Did you notify them of this dog bite?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because she even said it was her fault.
It wasn't her fault. It was your fault. You had the dangerous animal.
How is it my
Guys,
fault?
just a
I
second.
told her
Don't ask-
not to go
don't
in my
ask me-
house.
Don't ask me any questions, madam, and I'm going to tell you something. Based upon that video, there's no indication that you told her, don't go into my house.
I told her at work.
Listen to me. Based upon what I saw, if you knew that you had a dog that was territorial and she shouldn't go into the house, then you, when you speak to your daughter who was too lazy to go to the grocery store, say to her, I have one of my employees that I'm sending with your food, which is exactly what happened. You would have said to her, make sure that you take the stuff from the car, and she wouldn't have, unless she's an idiot, she wouldn't have, when she saw the plaintiff coming up with the extra drinks, she would have said, do me a favor, just stay out here, put them down on this shelf where I put the other drinks. Don't walk into the house. She said nothing. She walked into the house and, in effect, held the door open so that she could deliver the other 1 or 2 drinks for your children. That's what happened.
Jessica Crane for personal items and money from a GoFundMe fundraiser.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2119, Crane versus Crane.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, Miss Crane, this is a very sad case. This is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
And I don't know how many children that you have, but I know that you had a son who was in medical school, who was, how old, 25 years old?
30.
30. Sounds as if he was a popular young man. He was in an outing with friends, and sadly, he drowned.
Yes, he did. Saving
And that
2
happened,
women.
just a second, and
I'm
that
sorry.
happened when?
That happened July 29th of this year.
This is what the case is about. His friends, in his memory, started a GoFundMe page.
Correct.
And there is approximately $40,000 in that GoFundMe page.
There was, yes.
I said approximately.
Yes.
There was. And your daughter is, for want of a better word, in charge of that Facebook page GoFundMe proceeds.
Correct.
And it is your claim that as the next of kin, because he died without a will, you are entitled to some or all of that Facebook page.
It doesn't even matter about the GoFundMe funds. I mean, that would be nice in a perfect world, but my daughter took everything. From the day my son passed, when they found his body at the river, the coroner gave her the keys to his truck, and she went to his apartment and emptied it. So I didn't get my chance to be Josh's mom for the last time. I didn't get to empty his apartment.
I can't cure that, madam.
No.
I
No.
can't cure that.
No.
And you can't put any sort of a value on anything that your daughter might have taken from that apartment because you don't know what was there.
Correct.
So I can't help you with that. In a perfect world, maybe she would have gone with you to the apartment, but she didn't.
Correct.
Based upon what I read, you were not there during the search for your son or the discovery of his body. Is that correct?
I was at home.
Okay. And your daughter was there?
Yes, she was.
And I assume that you were close to your brother?
Absolutely close to my brother.
Just curious, what prevented you? You were notified that your son was missing. What prevented you from going there?
My daughter was at the house the day Josh went missing, and we had my car torn apart. She left after they called her, and I definitely would have hitched a ride, but I didn't have a vehicle.
Your
to get
Honor, I
home.
got...
Just a second. Did you say she was at your house?
Yes, she was.
Well, then why didn't you go with her?
They didn't call till after she had left, apparently, and rather than come back and get me...
You mean she left to go someplace else?
She left to go home. Yeah, we were working on my car. She left to go home, and she got a call from Search and Rescue. I hadn't been answering my phone.
Oh, well, that's a different story. You hadn't been answering your phone. It wasn't as if nobody called you.
No, she didn't call.
It wasn't as if nobody called you. Did somebody call you?
Right, from Search and Rescue, yes.
Somebody called you?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Crane, this is your problem. If your son passed away without a will, and I'm sure that somebody else, maybe a professional has told you that, a legal professional has told you that, if your son passed away without a will, depending upon the laws in your jurisdiction, you, as his parent, might be construed as next of kin, and any property that he owned at the time of his death would transfer to you.
Right, correct, yes.
He didn't own the GoFundMe page at the time he died.
No, he did not.
So you don't get it.
Okay.
Any part of it.
Okay.
Your Honor,
The
she already
people-
received funds from the GoFundMe as well.
Just a second. The people that set up the GoFundMe page, I assume, were classmates of your brother's?
Yes, they were his other fourth-year medical students that had reached out to me and asked if they could...
Don't tell me what they asked you. They set up a GoFundMe page. Do you have the paperwork for the GoFundMe page? I'd like to see it. Okay, so they raised $39,287.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything that is in writing that makes you either the beneficiary of?
The organizer of
Would you do me a favor, look it up?
Underneath the photo.
It does say that I am the beneficiary listed on there.
Thank you. You're Jessica.
I am.
Okay. Is organizing this fundraiser on behalf of Jessica Crane. That's her.
That has changed. Initially, it was for Joshua Crane, and with the legal
Just
ramifications.
show me.
It's never been for...
Show me, just a second. Mrs. Crane.
Yes.
It wouldn't make any difference, but I'm willing to look at something that originally it was on behalf of somebody else.
The reason I'm here today is not because of the GoFundMe.
Your Honor, that's exactly why she's here. It's the money. It's always been about the money.
All right, how are you going to pay the note on a $14,000 truck?
I plan on returning to work. This incident has taken my job, believe it or not.
Actually, I don't believe it.
Your Honor, I work 3
Just
jobs.
Just a second. Actually, I don't believe it.
And later today.
What kind of narcotics were found inside the vehicle?
It's alleged that it was a...
No, it's not alleged. This is a police report. I'm asking you, what kind of narcotics were found in your car?
Carol Crane claims her daughter, Jessica Crane, is wrongfully keeping her son's property and money from his GoFundMe fundraiser.
This is your complaint. I'm suing the defendant, Jessica Crane, in the amount of $10,000 for my portion of my deceased son's GoFundMe account and personal items, including my son's guitars and his vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. Now you're not looking for his GoFundMe account.
I never really was, because I never knew the law on GoFundMe. I tried to find out and speak to someone about it and get legal advice, and I could never find anyone.
Well, it's very easy. He didn't own this property while he was alive, so you have no title to it. If they said that they're starting a GoFundMe page in the name of your son to be for the benefit of animal rescue, you wouldn't have any control over that.
No, it was meant for his funeral costs.
Which I also paid
It says,
for,
just
Your
a
Honor.
second, on behalf of Jessica Crane.
Right.
On behalf of Jessica Crane, just for my own curiosity, I'd like to know, your son was buried at some point?
He was cremated.
He was cremated.
And I have the receipts. I paid for his obituary, his cremation.
Okay, so what I'm asking you is, there were no serious funeral costs?
I got everything donated on my funeral.
That's not true as well.
Just a second. I'm asking you, Mrs. Crane, did you pay anything for your son's funeral?
No.
Okay, that's all. So it's not as if you had any outlay of money for this. You know what I find sort of troublesome? I find troublesome that his friends, because that sometimes happens, it's human nature, you feel so badly about something, you want to do something, and probably the easiest thing to do is to raise money. And the easiest thing for probably these people who are in their 20s and 30s is to start a GoFundMe page. I mean, it just would seem to me if they wanted to do a scholarship for him at the school, if they wanted to do something else. This is for those people out there who are watching, who are GoFundMe people. I've seen some of the more ridiculous ones, you know, and there are good-natured people out there who see these things and will donate $5 and $10. Oh, my goodness, they need funeral costs. Well, in this case, there were no issues, and almost all this money, $40,000, is left. What are you going to do with it?
So there's a couple things that I planned on doing with it. It's why the money has been sitting in account.
I just want the people who donated this money to know what you're going to do with it. It's not for you to buy anything for yourself.
Your Honor.
That would be ridiculous. That's not what was in their minds. So I want to know who I'm dealing with.
Your Honor, after all of Josh's expenses were paid for, which I paid for using that money. I am very close with the dean at UC Davis, who is a good friend of my brother's as well, and they have talked about setting up a scholarship fund for my brother, and I was going to donate a portion of that money back if UC Davis decides to set that up on his behalf. And then I also wanted to set up scholarship funds for my sons, who my brother was very close with.
So what you're telling me is you're going to give a little to UC Davis for a scholarship in his name, and you're going to use some for your two sons for their education.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really not what it was intended to do. I'm just telling you, it was not what it was intended to do.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's how GoFundMes are set up. People can set them up for an intended purpose, and they're used for anything.
But I'm just telling the people out there, before you spend money on a GoFundMe page, make sure it's going to go to a place where you want it to go and for the intended purpose you wanted, which is to somehow celebrate the life of this young man that was cut short so tragically. And it would seem to me, Miss Crane, you don't have to do anything because they made you the beneficiary of this money. But it would seem to me that a stand-up person would take whatever is left of that and create a scholarship in his name at UC Davis, which is where he went to school. I can't order you to do that, but I'm just telling you, and everybody else out there, make sure if you have a good heart and a good spirit, you know where your money is going. Okay, so you're not entitled to any of the money. Now, did you take your brother's guitars?
I cleared out my brother's entire...
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just answer.
Yes, Your
Answer
Honor.
the question. And how many guitars did you take?
3.
Where are they?
They're at my house.
Now, I don't have to do this. Would you like one of your son's guitars?
Yes, very
Would you
much
like
so.
one of your son's guitars? Do you have any of your son's guitars?
None.
Your Honor, my mom has a long history of substance abuse. She's bought gifts for me in the past, and she's pawned them off. And I would like to keep them in my family, so that's where they stay. So that's why I have possession of them, because I don't want them going to a pawn shop.
I was told I could visit one of my son's guitars at her home.
Just a second, do you play guitar?
No. I just want it because it's my son's, and
Well-
I bought 3 of his guitars for him.
None
so
of these guitars were purchased by her. They're very expensive guitars. My brother purchased
I can't
every one
order
of
her to
these
do
guitars.
anything. I'm just asking her whether she would give you one of the guitars. And she said no. The next thing we have here is a vehicle. Now, tell me about the vehicle.
So Josh didn't have a lot. He was a 4th-year medical student. He has a truck, a Toyota, a 2019 Toyota Tacoma, that he still owes about $14,000 on. I have that here, $13,841.76 on. And at the time, his truck was at the boat launch where they found him. So when I met with the sheriffs, they gave me possession of the keys. They found his keys on his body, and they gave me his keys. So we brought the truck up to where we live in Northern California, took the truck up there, and it's been kept in storage until this is all sorted out. I personally wanted to keep the truck. I have the means to finance the truck in my name. I have the means to make a payment. She does not have the means to make a payment. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a driver's license. She can't provide insurance for it. I mean, she has driving...
That's not particularly relevant. There's $14,000 left on it. Are you employed?
I was until
Just
this
to say,
started.
the answer is either yes or no. Are you employed?
No.
All right, how are you going to pay the note on a $14,000 truck?
I plan on returning to work. This incident has taken my job, believe it or not.
Actually, I don't believe it.
Your Honor, I work 3
shh,
jobs.
Just a second. Actually, I don't believe it.
Okay.
So the answer is, if you can't afford to make
can.
the payments on this truck, and the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to be repossessed by the bank. Have you been making payments on the truck?
I have not made a payment.
Who is the finance company?
Credit union.
Where is the truck currently stored? Give me the address.
I don't have an exact address.
And later today,
You don't understand something, sir. Even though she was high on drugs and passed out in her car and you were not at fault, it's not windfall day. That's ridiculous. And I'm not stupid.
Carol Crane claims her daughter, Jessica Crane, is wrongfully keeping her son's property and money from his GoFundMe fundraiser.
I want to see the paperwork on the loan. Okay. Sarah, when we finish with this case, call credit union, advise them who has the truck, let them go repossess the truck. We're finished here. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I had an addiction problem, and she's just angry. She's angry at me, and I've tried to make amends. I've tried to get this better, and she won't have it. My daughter got away with taking absolutely everything, and she wasn't entitled to it.
I think that if there's any lesson to be taken away, aside from the fact that you're not supposed to fight, you know, when you lose somebody so young and so vital, the one innocent party is the credit union who loaned him the money to buy the truck. She's been hiding the truck now for 5 months, hasn't made a payment on it. The right thing to do is for her to turn that truck into the credit union, because I can't control that, except that I can advise the credit union where she is, who she is, that she has possession of the truck, and they should go and repossess it. Anyway, it's all very sad. Before you donate money to a GoFundMe page, make sure you know where the money is going. I think that's the takeaway from this.
Case 2161, Shaheen versus Larry. All parties, please step forward.
Jamal Shaheen is suing his neighbor, Sabrina Larry, for car damage after Sabrina hit his vehicle and a house.
Mr. Shaheen, tell me where you live.
I live in Moorhead, Minnesota.
And on September 8th of this year, you parked your relatively new car that, according to you, you got a week before.
No, Your Honor.
I had just purchased a Sequoia a week before.
No, actually, it's not the new car. I mean, it's a used car, but I purchased it maybe a year before that, not exactly a week.
Okay. So it's not a new car and you didn't purchase it a week before?
No.
But you parked it in front of your house. Do you have a photograph of the car?
I do.
I'd like to see it. And it is your claim that the defendant, Miss Larry, while under some sort of influence of some sort of substance, was driving her car, had an accident, hit your car, and caused it to move 25 feet, and it was damaged.
Yes.
And the damage to the car was the rear bumper.
Yep.
Not yep. Yes is the answer.
Yes.
Yes is the answer. Okay. Miss Larry, what time did you have your accident?
9 or 10 a.m.
On the 8th?
Yes.
Where were you coming from?
The grocery store.
Where were you going?
Home.
What kind of drugs had you taken?
I was taking Benadryl, prescription medication. That's all I had. That's what I took. And
Can I see the police report? You remember hitting his car?
no.
You remember the police coming to where your car stopped?
No, I don't remember the police coming.
Well, did the police come?
They did, yes.
And you don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
Were you taken to a hospital?
I was.
You have the discharge notes from the hospital?
I do.
I'd like to see it. What kind of narcotics were found inside the vehicle?
It's alleged that it was a...
No, it's not alleged. This is a police report. I'm asking you. What kind of narcotics were found in your car?
They said that they found a round blue pill that had an M30 on it. That's what it stated.
Sarah, do me a favor. Sure. Look up under illegal drugs, M30.
So M30s imitate oxycodone obtained from a pharmacy, but when sold on the streets, the pills routinely contain fentanyl.
Look up this name, Percocet. Mm-hmm. You smoke Percocet? How do you smoke Percocet? That's the only thing you remembered. You didn't remember the accident. Patient remembers smoking Percocet pill just prior to allegedly passing out and crashing her vehicle. That's what they say from your doctor.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Well, that's what they're saying. The history is provided by the patient. The history is limited by condition of the patient. History is limited because the patient does not remember the actual automobile accident. Remembers smoking Percocet pill just prior to allegedly passing out and crashing her vehicle. You think the doctor made that up? And they just so happened to have found this blue pill in your console in your car?
That's what they are saying.
Okay. You actually know you could have killed yourself. Yeah. Okay. And you don't remember anything about it because that's what you told them. You don't remember anything about anything after you smoked the little blue pill, which is what they said. So your car was moved. That's the damage to your car.
Yeah.
So can I see the estimate for the damage, please?
I think
you gave it to me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Have you had the car fixed?
Just the back tail light that I had to put it on. I was trying to fix it, but don't have any money to do it.
Sarah, look up, please, would you?
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, great. Thank you. Oh, it's a 21-year-old car. It's got 226,000 miles on it. How much did you pay for it, sir?
I paid 10.
We're not going to spend 7 to fix it.
Well, that's how much it costs.
You find somebody to do it less.
Well, now I am without a car.
You're not without a car, sir. You put on the taillight so that you could drive it. This car is not drivable.
That car was dragged. That back axle, it shakes. I can't drive it in
Between 2
a
and 5,000.
Between 2 and 5,000. You paid too much for the car, sir. You don't understand something, sir. Even though she was high on drugs and passed out in her car and you were not at fault, it's not windfall day. If you can buy the car for $2,000, buy an old 22-year-old car for $2,000. She's not paying you $7,000 to fix a $2,000 car. That's ridiculous. And I'm not stupid. Do we understand each other? Now, between
2,500 and 5,000 based off of a 250,000 mile 2002 Toyota Supra.
So you have to find somebody who's going to fix your car for $3,000, sir. That's $1,000 more than you could buy it for. We're done here. Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
I would remember if I hit a car, and I didn't.
She ran into my car, run into a garage.
I know exactly what I took, and it definitely wasn't narcotics.
That area that I was living in, it's a really bad area. A lot of drugs are going on over there.
I'm very, very lucky. I'm very blessed. Like she said, I could be dead.
Just the audacity of some plaintiffs to come in here with an almost 22-year-old car with 275,000 miles on it. And I looked it up, and I even priced it on the positive end, the private party value, not a trade-in, and so forth. $7,000 he was comfortable asking the court for a car that's not even worth $7,000.
Yeah, he'll buy...
For a back panel.
Buy a new one. He was lying when I said, how much did you pay for the car? $10,000. That's ridiculous. And he just bought it, he said, a year ago. In the papers, he said he bought it a week before. So either it was a week or a year. Not...
Either way, not...
Zachary Martin is suing his neighbor, Nancy Morrell, for property damage after his car was vandalized.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2151, Martin versus Morrell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been neighbors?
Moved into the subdivision in 2019.
That's how long you've been there?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how long the defendant has been there?
I think 2014.
Is that right?
2017, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
And where do you live in respect to one another? You want to go over there and show me?
I live in this house right here. Or I did. I don't anymore. This house right here. And she lives right here.
You sold your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the defendant
She lives right here.
Where the blue car is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. This is sort of a circular area, and from the circular area, you pull into your driveway. Is that right? Okay. It is your claim that the defendant keyed your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this happen?
January 22nd, 2022.
The defendant says that she did not key your car. She has a counterclaim. She claims that she was falsely arrested and held overnight in jail.
That is a lie.
But just to...
Okay.
That's her claim, that she was falsely arrested, that she spent a night in jail. She had to hire a lawyer, did hire a lawyer after her lawyer requested several adjournments. You were not, at least physically, in the courtroom at the time of the last adjournment, and the case was dismissed. So let's go back to prior to January 22nd. I assume that if you're alleging that the defendant keyed your car, that you have some negative history with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
Starting when?
There are so many. I mean, it started out when we moved in the subdivision. They were nice at the beginning, no issues. And then the kids started having, her granddaughter lives with her.
Okay, how old is your granddaughter?
She's 9 now. She was 8.
Okay.
They started out having some issues, as kids do. I mean, you know, that happens.
You have a child of a similar age?
Yes, ma'am. She's 11 now. She was 9 or 10 when we lived there.
And the two children had an issue?
I mean, you know, kids argue.
No, I understand that. I'm not going into who was right and who was wrong in the kids' argument. I don't really care. But when did that argument between the two children spill over to the neighbors?
Well, I guess the final straw was Labor Day weekend of 21, the Sunday before the Labor Day. We came home late. It was about 7 o'clock. We were working, and we told Jillian we were going home for a little bit, and she said, I want to swim in the pool. So, all right.
Jillian is your 10-year-old?
Yes, yes. And, of course, she said, well, that's boring, Daddy. I want a friend to swim with me. So I said, okay, one friend. That's it, because your brother's going to watch you, and then we're leaving to go back to work. So she goes next door to Patrick's house, which is the next-door neighbor, and she asked Patrick to come over and go swimming. He comes over. At the time, I didn't know this. At the time...
At the time, the defendant's granddaughter was there.
Yes.
At Patrick's house.
Yes.
Got it. So your daughter went over and invited Patrick
right.
to come and swim.
Right. And not...
You had told her that she could have one friend in the pool, so Patrick left to come swimming, leaving your granddaughter alone.
Well, she had to go home.
She had to go home.
Yes.
She came home.
Just a second. Okay. That's what happened. Okay. You had a grandchild who had hurt feelings. I assume
she actually went over to go swimming. She thought she was invited too.
You had a child with hurt feelings.
And I went to ask what had happened.
Okay.
That's this big hoopla.
Okay. Now, Your grandchild comes home. I assume she was upset. Was she crying?
Yes.
Okay. And that was about what time?
In the evening. I honestly can't remember.
Okay. And when she came home crying, tell me what you did.
Went out and, honey, what's wrong?
What did you do?
Are you okay?
Yes, and she told you what happened.
She said, I went over to Jillian's. She invited us swimming. And when I got there, her dad said only one person could swim.
Okay.
So she came home.
Okay, and what did you do next?
That's not what happened.
I talked to her, calmed her down, and I went over and said, hey.
You know, just a second. You walked from your house, where the blue car is.
Yep, around the corner.
Did you take your granddaughter with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
She's lying.
And what? Shh. If you do that again, I'm
All
just
right.
going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that? And you know, it's
Yeah,
easy.
I got it.
This isn't my case. It's your case.
I know.
So you walked alone to his house. Did you knock at the door? Did you go outside? I want you to tell me exactly what you did.
I don't remember if I went to the front door, if I went to where the pool is, and I do believe Mr. Martin was out there.
Okay, so Mr. Martin was out there, and you said it in that kind of a calm tone?
What happened to my granddaughter? Why is she crying?
Well, she told you why she was crying when she was home. She told you she was crying because she went over there to swim, and Mr. Martin said you can only have one person swim with you.
Which is totally out of character. The children swim together all the time.
You mean at Mr. Martin's pool?
At Mr. Martin's pool, and if they need another adult...
Just a second.
I go...
So they swim all the time in Mr. Martin's pool, so you wanted to know what happened on this occasion when he said only one person can swim.
Yes.
And you said it in just the same kind of conversational tone that I'm talking in, is my question.
I was very calm at the beginning, yes.
Oh, okay. And so you said to him what happened, and what did he say to you?
I don't remember exactly. It was to the effect of his son was going to watch them, and he could only have one child in the pool.
Right, that he wanted his son to have responsibility of only watching one other child other than his sister.
Correct.
Right, well, that sounds reasonable.
And that's fine.
Just a second. So how did it escalate? He said, I only wanted one child in here. My son's going to watch the kids. We have to go back to work. And that should have been it. Why wasn't it?
I don't know.
So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. Bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail, I'm gonna call the police.
Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
Zachary Martin claims his neighbor, Nancy Morrell, keyed his car and owes for the repairs. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
Now let's get to your version of what happened. Okay, so you said only one child. Her granddaughter went home. Her granddaughter, who's a little girl, is upset. Why can't I go swimming too? I got that. And?
This is a lie. Everything she told you was a lie.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
If you say again it's a lie, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I asked you what happened.
She did not come to my house.
Okay.
Her daughter came to my house.
Just a second. You mean her granddaughter's mother?
Yes. I never talked to her.
Before my daughter went over, I had gone over.
She didn't.
Oh, no, just a second. Yeah. Now I don't believe you, Miss Morrell. Now I don't believe you, madam. I watched your eyes. I just watched it. Now uncross your arms. So, her daughter came over first.
No,
Yes.
I
Well,
went
she
over.
never-
I don't want to hear you.
She never came over. The daughter came over. She bypassed my front door and went to the side gate where the pool is. She told my son to go get me.
To go get you?
To go get me. I came out and she called me a jerk. You should let her swim in the pool. Blah. I just told my daughter, look, you can have one friend because your brother's watching you. It's not fair for him now to watch 3 kids. Just 2, that's all. I told her, I said, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I said she could have one friend and that's it. She proceeded to call me a jerk. She said some other choice words I'm not going to repeat, in which case I did cuss her out and told her to get off my property and not to come back again, anybody in her family, or I would file trespass charges.
Okay, and that was on the Sunday before Labor Day?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this incident happen with your car?
January 22nd.
After that incident on Labor Day weekend, did you have any other contact with the defendant?
Yes.
When?
So I think it was right after Jillian's birthday on November the 21st. I think it was like a week, like December the 1st, I think. And this is really sick, but it got to the situation where she would watch my kid. And every time my kid would go to Aubrey's house or Patrick's house, she would take toys, she would unpack her stuff. And I told her, I said, look, you can't play with her. So they would wait 10 or 15 minutes till she got unpacked and get all comfortable, having a good time. She would send her granddaughter over there. She had to pack her stuff up and come home. She would come home crying many times. So then it got to the point where Patrick, he would come over to our house. He'd be over to our house all the time. They would get on trampoline, play video games, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing something one day, and then the camera went off, and I give me a look at my iPad. Here comes Nancy up my driveway. She knocks on the door, and she says, can we play? And I said, no, you can't play. Get off of my property. File trespass charges if you come back. That was, the last time I interacted with her. Until she gave the video.
Well, it's not my job to be judgmental in a social way, but I have to tell you, I would have handled it a little differently with her. She wasn't the one who behaved badly. I wouldn't visit her daughter's bad behavior on an 8-year-old. There are kids who live right around the corner from each other, and it seems to me that the bad behavior of a parent or a grandparent shouldn't impact on a child. The granddaughter is a nice little girl.
Well, I mean, if you say so. I mean...
Is she?
Well, she spread rumors about my daughter and said that, she told Aubrey that my daughter stole some of her toys, and that was a lie.
Okay. All right. Well, it sort of started to get nasty. Now let's get back to the keying of the car. So that happened in January. So tell me about the January incident.
Okay, so she got up January 22nd. It's a Saturday. She decided to walk her dog. She's walked her dog.
Go over there. Show me what you saw.
Okay. So she decided to walk her dog, and so she walks up the sidewalk.
Well, you didn't see that.
No, not right here.
No, you didn't see that.
When she gets about right here, which is Patrick's house, the mailbox is right here, you can see in the video. That's when the cameras detect motion. That's when I get the alert. So I see her walking the dog, and she's walked her dog past my house many times, but never gotten that close to my vehicle. So immediately I thought something.
Where was your car?
My car is parked right here.
In the driveway?
Yes, ma'am. So she walks the dogs, and she is right beside the view. I mean, you can see in the video, you can see her right hand go up. So I immediately run out of the house. I have a truck parked right here. I looked at my truck. I thought maybe she did something to the truck. I looked at it, didn't see anything. I went back outside and I said, well, wait a minute, let me go back outside and look at the Pathfinder. So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. It's bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail, I'm gonna call the police.
Okay, step back. When you said to her, you're going to jail, I'm going to call the police, did she respond?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
Okay. You can see as her hand goes up right there.
I'll take a look at it again. Is there any reason that you stopped behind his car? Is there any reason?
Stopped to sniff, I stopped with him.
You see her right hand right there.
I'm moving my arm as I walk.
Yes, and that's where the scratch is.
Okay, can I take a look at the photographs of the scratch, please? Okay, so based upon what you saw, you called the police. And based upon that, the police came, interviewed you, and viewed this tape.
Actually, I had contacted the police after he had yelled at me. He's a little incorrect. Could I show you where?
Sure.
I did walk my dog around here. His cars impede the sidewalk, so I moved. And I had completed my whole route over to about here, and he did indeed come out and yell at me. I caught a few words of it, said I'm walking my dog, waved my arms, and continued on. Mm-hmm. That's not the first time he has yelled at me as I've been walking, and I went home and I filed an incident report, and I do have that.
Just a second.
The second time I've been walking and he's come out and yelled at me, it's very unnerving.
That's a lie.
We're very far.
Sorry.
It's going to cost you getting your car fixed. It's something you don't understand.
I have it.
Something you don't understand. I'm allowing both of you to tell me your sides of the story. You can't say that's a lie. Do you understand?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not cutting you off. I let you tell me your story, sir. I let you tell me what happened, and I want to give the defendant the same opportunity. You can't interrupt her. Now you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? I will tell you what I don't understand, Miss Morell. You see, if I had got into a kerfuffle with him, which you had, because he said you and your granddaughter, which I actually think was socially wrong with regard to your granddaughter, but with regard to you, he doesn't want you there, right? I wouldn't walk up a cul-de-sac to go past his house. If it were me, I see plenty of space where you can walk. You can cross the street from your house and walk in the street the other way. And then when you come back, you can walk the other way. You don't have to go inside that cul-de-sac to walk anywhere near his house. That's looking for trouble.
Can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car.
Are you her husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me.
Zachary Martin is accusing his neighbor, Nancy Morell, of keying his car. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
So you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for false arrest. He didn't arrest you. The police arrested you. And the police arrested you based upon what they believed, after looking at that video, was probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe you participated in the commission of that crime, which is vandalism. He didn't make a citizen's arrest. The police made an arrest. And not only did they make an arrest, but they were serious enough to have you get a lawyer. Your counsel went in. I assume your new counsel asked for an adjournment. I assume your new counsel, you were there.
I believe so. I was not there, ma'am. I waited out in the hall, and my lawyer represented me.
Fine. So I assume that you knew that your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The lawyer didn't prepare you for trial, did he?
No.
No.
Your Honor.
So he was... I'm not listening to you.
As a witness, can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car. We have evidence of that.
Just a second. That I'll listen to in a minute.
Okay.
The second time your case was on, did you go into court or did you wait outside?
I waited outside.
Then if you waited outside, you knew again your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The first time the case was on, did you attend the court hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you inside the court?
Yes, ma'am.
She was not there.
She was outside. Yes, ma'am.
The second time when the case was adjourned, were you in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she there?
Yes, ma'am.
Outside or inside?
She was outside.
Did her lawyer ask for an adjournment?
Continuance.
A continuance?
Yes, ma'am.
Same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it happen more than twice?
Yes.
On the third time you went to court, did you go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Inside or outside?
She was outside, and what happened, I had sold the house, and we moved an hour away.
Just a second. You were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me. No. Well, this says that on January 18th, which was 4 days before this incident, you reported another vandalism to a Nissan Titan.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the car that you saw her key or believe she keyed?
No, ma'am, that's a different vehicle.
That's what I thought. That's a different vehicle. That has nothing to do with this car.
Well, the gentleman that he accused of, he didn't even have arrested or didn't want to press charges.
Just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to let you stand up, and I'm going to give you my end of the riot act, because if this is what you're deluding yourself with, I'm going to tell you. He didn't have video of anybody on the 18th around his car. In your wife's case, sir, he had prior experience with her. She had no business walking right in front of the house when there are plenty of other places to walk. If they are not on great terms, he had every right to call the police, show them the video, and they had every right to arrest her. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but
Good.
that doesn't
This has
prove
nothing.
that she scratched the vehicle. That doesn't prove that.
Just a second. That's what a trial is for, sir. That was up to a jury. What your wife is suing him for is for false arrest. He didn't arrest her. The police arrested her. Now sit. May I see the invoice? Have you had the car fixed?
Yes, ma'am. I have an estimate, and I also have the police report. Where
I'd like to
read
see
her own
both.
words.
I'd like to see both. So the police officer indicated that after you were told about what the officer saw on the video, you've decided to make no more statements about the incident, and you were placed under arrest for malicious damage. The officer also reported that the scratch on the back of the car was fresh because there were fresh paint chips on the street that were red paint chips. There's a red car that came off that car, which demonstrates to the eyes of any layperson that since there's traffic back and forth there, if there are fresh scratches and fresh paint, it means it just happened. So your counterclaim for false arrest and anything addended thereto is dismissed.
I did not do it, Your Honor.
Right, well, okay, maybe. The case was dismissed. That doesn't mean you're entitled to money from him. Police had probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe that you committed that crime. The rest of it is up to a jury. So you have a beef with the police department, not with him. They had an absolute right to arrest you. I'm not giving you $2,500 for this scratch, sir. Get it out of your mind. Do you understand?
Why not?
It's not a $2,500 scratch.
I mean, that's an estimate from a
$500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Well, she was incorrect because I did not do it.
You know, we took an oath when we went inside to tell the truth, and she lied repeatedly, and she got mad at me when I said that's a lie, but it was a lie.
That he saw me walking by and looked at the car and said, oh.
The next day I called the police to see what happened, and they informed me they arrested her.
I thought they were there because I had called about him harassing me, and then all of a sudden they just said, you scratched his car. And I said, no, I didn't.
I think she should have stayed in jail longer.
They placed me in custody.
The lady does nothing but lie. She's a liar.
It was horrible.
I actually thought his behavior when the defendant brought her granddaughter over subsequently and said, can't she play? Because evidently there are 2 or 3 kids who live close by and they always played together. All of a sudden, the granddaughter is excluded from that play. There's a certain amount, as a parent, he should have had some sense of that and said, well, of course they can play, but your daughter owes me an apology. You know, if you're behaving like an adult, your daughter owes me an apology. I tried to do a responsible thing. I didn't want to let my son watch more than one stranger child in a pool, which is absolutely smart because, God forbid, something happened to one of those children, they would certainly turn around and sue him.
Yeah.
So he did the responsible thing. Was it hurtful to the other child? Yes. According to him, his daughter was playing at Patrick's house. She came over and said, you can't come, because they're little children. They don't understand. You can't come. Only one person can come. But you're a grown-up. So understand how that could be hurtful to an 8-year-old. Anyway, I think that they both behaved badly, and he's very smart to have moved out of that.
Out of the cul-de-sac, out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, could you understand why she would walk her dog there?
Yeah, I agreed with you that if you've already had even just a hint of distaste with any of your neighbors, I just walk on the other side of the street, just avoid it. And this seems like a perfectly avoidable house in the cul-de-sac.
You actually have to
go into his loop in order to make the loop. So I don't know. I think both sides questionable, but I'm glad that he got something that you were willing to give him for his car.
Yeah, get your car fixed reasonably, and the police absolutely had a right to arrest her.
Yeah.
There was a complaint. They looked at the complaint. They saw the damage. They saw it was fresh. They saw her right there on the video. They had a history of bad feelings between them. They had an absolute right to arrest her.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Michael Attar is suing his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, for unpaid demolition work.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2115, Attar versus Rhodes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Attar, You were hired to do some, according to you, demolition work and other work at a property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes. You gave them an estimate for that work. I think the estimate was $11,500. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was outlined what work you were supposed to do. You started that work, and according to you, at some point there was disagreement with either or both of the Rhodeses, and they stopped payment on a check that they gave you.
Correct.
And the check that they gave you was for $4,200. And then you stopped work for them.
Yes, ma'am, we're finished.
So you're suing them for the canceled check and for other unpaid work that you did that you didn't get paid for.
Correct.
Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes say that they were not satisfied with the quality of your work. It cost them $9,000 to both replace things that were stolen from their property by either you or members of your team, something which I don't think that you question that somebody from your team, not you, somebody from your team may have taken metal property of theirs that they didn't own. So let's go back. Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes, is this a new property to you, or is this a property that you owned for a while?
It's a new property to us.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So is it a private house?
Yes, and we were remodeling it.
Okay, when did you purchase it?
We purchased in January of 2021.
Is it a single-family residence?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
$769,000.
Describe the property to me.
It's in northern Altaloma or Rancho Cucamonga. It's an acre property, has 2 levels on it, and a single-family ranch-style home on it right now. And what we asked him to do was demolition the lower half.
Do you have a photograph?
I do.
I'd like to look at a photograph of what you wanted him to do.
That's what the lower half looked like
okay.
before.
So this whole portion you wanted him
correct
to demolish and remove the debris.
And grade flat.
Is that correct, sir?
I can't see from here, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm going to show it to you. To demolish it, flatten it, fill it in.
Remove all the debris.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And did you have a written contract?
We did not.
Well, that's always a mistake.
Always.
How did you find him?
I believe I got his business card. It was on my personal car, I think at Home Depot. We had bought this house, and we tried to find somebody to do the work, but...
Mr. Rhodes, let me tell you that the best way to find somebody is not somebody who leaves a card on your car at Home Depot or any place else.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time to find contractors with COVID and everything at that time.
And at the time, I'm also going to add, because I read in the paper somewhere at the time, he didn't have a license.
He did not.
And you knew he didn't have a license.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I told him, Your Honor. I do not
Just a second. They didn't say, no, we didn't know. They said, we knew. So you got somebody who had no license to do what you wanted him to do, and you got his number from a card that he left on your windshield. Did you ask for references? That's either a yes or a no.
No, and I'm not really sure actually 100% on where I found that card. I think it was...
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he did tell us he was in the process of getting his license, that it was coming.
Yeah. I know.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You're two intelligent people. Okay. So you hired an unlicensed contractor to do work on your house and agreed to pay him $11,500. Now, Mr. Rattar, the $11,000 included labor and materials. Is that correct?
There was no material. It was labor and bins.
Well, that's material, labor and bins to remove
yes, ma'am.
all the equipment that you needed
yes, ma'am.
To complete the job.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Of before, too. Of what I was supposed to do, and I took a picture.
Well, no, I have that.
You have the wrong picture, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see the picture that he has.
I was supposed to do from the post all the way to the other post, remove everything, and the pool and the deck.
Mr. Rattar, the $11,500 was an all-inclusive figure.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that became an issue is a bobcat.
Correct.
From what I'm piecing together, you hired somebody in a bobcat to do a bobcat. That's a big piece of equipment that knocks down something.
I rented a bobcat.
And somebody who operated it.
My worker.
You didn't know how to operate the bobcat.
I know how to operate bobcat, but I was controlling the demolition site, ma'am. I was like many things were going at the same time. I had to control everything.
Mr. Rattar, something happened with the bobcat, the original one that you got. What happened with it?
It broke down on us.
No, it didn't break down on them. It broke down on you.
On us.
It broke down on you.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I took it back, and next day supposed to deliver me another one, but they sent me a drunk driver and another broken down Bobcat. I returned it. At that moment, I asked Mrs. Rhodes, can you please go down Home Depot, which is like a mile away, so we don't stop wasting time, rent a Bobcat.
Just a second. Why should she rent a Bobcat, sir? Your $11,500 included the Bobcat.
But I paid for it.
No. If you're going to pay for it, that's one thing. Then what are you sending her for? If your $11,500 figure included all materials, then she doesn't have to rent a Bobcat. If you rented one that didn't work, rent one that works. How much of a down payment did they give you?
Presume was $4,000.
When did you start the job?
I started the job on 15th of January.
When did you leave the job?
I was asked to leave on the 2nd of February.
On February 2nd?
Yes, ma'am. Not to go back, I'll call the cops on you.
Between January 15th and February 2nd, other than the $4,000, did they give you any other money?
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
How much money did they give you?
They gave me up to $7,000.
So they gave you an additional $3,000?
Yes, and $1,000 check.
Your Honor, that was within the first week we gave him.
It doesn't matter to me. My question was between January 15th and February 2nd, they gave you $7,000.
Correct.
Explain the other $4,200, which is the check that they
stopped
payment on.
Okay. I'll happily explain to you. The Bobcat she rented for me on her behalf, it cost $329 to rent per day. And I rented for one day only, but they charged me $800.
No, that's not correct.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you.
Michael Attar claims his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, owe for unpaid demolition work. Mary and Michael are countersuing for lost wages, equipment rental, and missing property.
Now, they paid you $7,000.
Correct.
They wrote you another check.
The final check was supposed to be $5,000, but they only gave me $4,200 because they minus $800 for the Bobcat rental.
Just a second. First of all, the total bill wasn't 7 and 5. 7 and 5, even my rudimentary math, is $12,000. That would be $500 more than your agreed contract, which was for $11,500.
They gave me $6,500 because they gave me small checks. They gave me the first initial
Just a
check,
second.
They gave me smaller ones.
Sir, you're the businessman, whether you have a license or not. I asked you before how much money did they give you between January 15th and February 2nd, and you said $7,000.
I didn't write it down, Your Honor.
Well, you're here asking for money, and you have to write it down. You have to have some.
I've done performed already. And
No, sir.
And I just did the job, Your Honor. I did 7, 8 other side jobs for them.
I don't care whether you did 7 or 8 side jobs. Your original agreement with them was for $11,500, including all material. Now, what you said to me was that they gave you $7,000, and you said they're supposed to give me another $5,000. Well, another $5,000 is more than your quote.
Ma'am, the balance was $5,000.
How?
The initial check, then they gave me $1,000.
How much money did you give them altogether that he cashed?
$7,000.
Then they owed you $4,500, pursuant to your agreement.
We agreed to $11,000, not $11,500.
$11,500, Your Honor.
Anybody have any proof of what the agreed amount was?
We had a verbal contract with me, Mr. Rhodes.
Fine. I will indicate that it's $11,500. If they gave you $7,000, they don't owe you $5,000. They owed you the difference between $11,500 and the $7,000 that they gave you. Now, one of the things that you disputed, Mr. Attar, was this Bobcat. Who paid for the Bobcat? Show me.
They minus it from the final price.
Just a second. Was that an argument?
The argument about is, Your Honor, is they rented for one day, but they charged me 2 days, $800. There's no Bobcat rental for $800 for 2 days. I got.
Do you have the bill for the Bobcat?
I do, yes. And it was for 2 days.
Go over a certain time.
Because it was returned late. So they charged a second day. But in his text messages, he did request it for 2 days.
Is that the total price?
Yes, and I did not subtract it from his payment.
Total contract was $652.74?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you. Just show me a picture.
Yes, ma'am. This is not a picture.
Mr. Attar, you're the businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your company.
Yes, ma'am.
Company requires A, a license before you operate, which you didn't have.
If you do.
B, it requires a written contract. You're the businessman. They're people who bought a house who got your number off a windshield someplace. You're the businessman, and you want the parameters. You want them fixed. So I don't know if it's 11,000 or 11,500. Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Right. Well, that's your mistake. You look as if you've probably been in business for a long time.
14 years.
And is what you're telling me you don't have written contracts?
All my contracts are verbal.
Then how many times have you been in court, sir?
Never.
Never.
I never had a stop payment check. Never pays me on time, Your Honor.
It's a problem. So when you finished, the debris wasn't all removed.
That wood, they kept telling me, don't touch it. Their neighbor, cousin, whoever's going to come pick it up. That was just cut cord wood.
No. There's brick, there's wood, there's cement.
We cleaned all that. I personally cleaned all that.
Just a second. What I asked you, Mr. Attar, was show me a picture of the property when you left. This is the picture that you showed me.
That was the last, before I had more work, I came in and did more. I wasn't taking pictures. I wasn't expecting somebody to stop payment on a check, Your Honor. I was not expecting
pictures of
that.
what it looked like when he left.
What about after?
Well, what are you showing me here? This brick that's here?
They piled it there and then left it there.
Well, that's probably a good one.
No, it was supposed to be removed.
So this is the back.
That's the picture of the sagging patio because he removed part of the supports that were holding up the patio that he wasn't supposed to. So it's now sagging.
Now, this is the picture that you gave me when you told me this is what you wanted, leveled, cleared, and made flat.
Right.
Now, I want to see your picture of what this looked like when he left.
You have it. It's in some of those photos.
Flat's leveled.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
That's part of it. The close-ups, that's part of it.
Well, it looks like most of the stuff is done. It looked like a lot of cleanup left.
No, ma'am. We've done all the cleanup.
Well, I haven't seen that, so then what you're supposed to do is take a photograph.
It was also buried underneath. These are the photos of when we did it ourselves and really leveled it out. And as we were doing that, we found so much buried underneath that should have been removed, but his Bobcat person buried it all.
Your Honor.
Buried
all the debris, all the concrete brick.
Okay, let me see the bill from the...
No, we did it ourselves. We rented equipment and did it ourselves on his vacation.
Oh, nice. Okay, $4,500 is so far what's owed on this contract. Now, your counterclaim is money owed for lost work, equipment rentals, labor and missing damages to property. What money owed for lost work?
During the second week that he was working, he called and said that his crew had left. This was the second day of supposed to be use of the Bobcat that I rented.
Okay, if you interrupt me again, I'm just dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
So
just explain lost work. Who's lost work?
His.
Oh, forget it.
Well, he called and said his crew left.
Forget it.
He can't finish the job.
You weren't living there.
Not yet, no.
You weren't living there. Okay. He wants to go, go. I'm not interested in his lost wages for taking care of his house. So far, you owe the man the balance on his contract, unless you had somebody else do it, which is absolutely fine. And I would look at that removal of debris, what it costs you, and you're absolutely entitled to that. Deducted from what you owe him, which is $4,500.
But he didn't finish the job.
Just a second. You tell me, how am I supposed to gauge how much of the job he didn't finish? Did he not complete $2,500 worth? $3,500 worth? $1,500 worth?
I think the $7,000 we paid him was overpaid. He didn't have to end up removing an entire pool. He only had to remove...
That's your problem. Just a second. I read that. You said it's not a big pool. It wasn't 8 feet. It was only 24 inches. He gave you a price to level everything. Nothing delineated, Nothing in a written contract. The pool turns out to be 2 feet instead of 6 feet or 2 feet instead of 8 feet. Well, if he was the contractor and he came out and he looked at the pool, he said, oh, this is an 8-foot pool, and it turned out it's a 12-foot pool, he'd be stuck with 11.5, just like you're stuck with 11.5 because it was shallower. Now, you owe him $4,500 unless you want to produce for me bills that you have for rental equipment, et cetera, and I will absolutely deduct that from the $4,500. Just give me the bills and the amount of equipment. Don't say nothing, Mr. Retard. Mr. Rhodes, did you rent a Bobcat?
The one that I cleaned up the yard with?
Yes.
I rented a piece of equipment.
Jump up!
Yes.
And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir. I'm a television personality. I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Michael Attar has accused his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, of refusing to pay for demolition work. Mary and Michael claim he never finished the job and stole their property.
Now, what did you rent?
A skip loader.
That's different from a Bobcat.
Yes, that's correct.
Smaller?
I would say bigger.
Bigger. And do you remember how much it cost you? Did you rent it from Home Depot?
No. It's from a local rental yard. I think it was
All the equipment we rented
in Ontario.
$1,300.
Yeah.
Find it.
Yeah.
Find the bill.
They didn't print it, so now I gotta.
How many days did you have it, Mr. Rhodes?
4.
I'm dismissing your counterclaim, Mrs. Rhodes. Do you want to know why? Because I asked him a specific question, and you answered. Do you understand? Do you understand? That part of your counterclaim, because you don't have it, you can't find it. So far, you owe him $4,500. Not $8,600, but $4,500. Now, do you have any proof that Mr. Attar or someone from his team stole copper piping or whatever piping that you claim was missing? Do you have any proof that either Mr. Attar or anyone under his authority took property from you?
Yes. We have text messages back and forth.
Okay, I'll read them. Okay, so what you're referring to with regard to the stolen property is you send a picture and there's a little piece of pipe there, one piece of pipe, and you say, Mike, did you or your guys happen to grind off 2 metal poles and concrete blocks? The kids use those for volleyball nets. And he says, oh my God, no, sir, but I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to, no problem, Michael, please give, and I don't see the rest of this message.
Yes, so that was the beginning of things we noticed that were missing.
Oh, I don't care. If this is what you're talking about?
Yes, he's saying he let a metal person onto our yard, and they went and took everything that was metal.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Attar.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me about the missing metal on this property.
She was standing right there, and there was a metal guy that drives down the street. And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir. I'm a television personality. I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Okay. Who is this person?
This person was picking up metal, and I asked for permission. I said, ma'am, can you come down the property?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Was this person picking up metal for nothing?
Yes,
Just a second. Yeah. You're a business guy. Mr. Attar, somebody drives down the street and says, you know, I see you're doing construction. Is there any metal around here that you want me to dispose of?
Yes, ma'am. They do a lot.
Yes. And then they look around. This is what you tell them. They look around and they take the metal for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. This would be cheaper for me set a loader on my trailer and take it to the recycling metal yard.
So what metal did they take, sir? I assume
everything that I gave them.
What did you give them?
Nobody went up there and cut no poles, ma'am.
Well, they sent you a picture of a pole, sir, and in response to the picture of the pole, you said, oh, my God, I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to.
I'm guessing.
No problem. And then you say later, tell me what it is, and I will either look high and low to get it back, or replace it. That's what you say.
Yes, I offered to replace it.
That's what you say.
I offered to replace it.
Now, next question. I need an itemized list and what the value was of the metal taken.
No, there's a list of everything. They're listed in there.
What is this?
Those are all the damages, but the metal is listed in there separately of the items that are missing.
No, it isn't. This is a whole bunch of other things that you prepared for this case.
It's in there underneath. There's the horse feeder. Part of the corral was cut off.
This is something that you wrote yourself.
Yes, you said an itemized list.
If they took 6 feet of pipe, get me a bill from Home Depot for the replacement of that pipe.
Oh, I have
all the bills for the replacement of metal, not what you prepared for this litigation.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Itemized list.
Did you take down a horse corral?
No, Your Honor, I did not take no horse corral. I have nothing
Horse
to do.
corral, is that metal or is it?
It's made out of galvanized metal, yeah. They cut pieces off of that were sticking up to take to recycle, I guess.
Just a second. Was there a 4-sided horse corral?
Yes.
That looked like this?
Yes.
That they took down?
They cut pieces that were sticking up above the horse corral, attached to the horse corral.
You're being petty. You're being petty. $306, Ram's price, galvanized wall-mounted horse feeder. Did you take a horse feeder?
No, Your Honor, I got no...
Yo, Mr. Ratoff, $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Well, his equipment broke, and he wanted us to rent the equipment for him.
Equipment died because things break down.
And then the next day, he calls and says he can't finish it.
At that moment, I didn't have a credit card to my name. And that's the honest truth.
So we pretty much figured that was job abandonment at that point.
I'm going to have a written contract in the future. Don't hire
Always
him.
hire a professional.
I could not believe that your first question to him when he said that he'd been working as a contractor for 14 years was, and you've been working all 14 of those years unlicensed?
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for the question. I was waiting at the edge of my seat, and it never came.
Different minds. Yeah. Should have slipped me a note.
I should have.
You should have slipped me a note. No, that actually didn't cross my mind, but that's a good question.
Yeah. Oral contracts and no license.
No license, but there's no question. He did the work.
Yeah. No, I agree.
He did the work, and they were really dickering over who was going to absorb the cost of this second Bobcat that they had to get, which was really ridiculous. If they had had another contractor who came and completed the job,
you would have awarded that.
I would have deducted it from the $4,500 that they owed him. But absent that, the fact that he rented some sort of piece of equipment and came and cleaned up the property was not important to me, and the rest of their case was nonsense. Next time, they won't employ somebody for $11,000 from a card from your windshield.
At Home Depot.
From
Anywhere.
wherever, and not say, okay, listen, maybe I'll give him a shot. Give me 3 of your last references to call.
It's a good lesson to people out there,
I don't understand that.
Desiree Surratt is suing her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, for the cost of a car and childcare.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2195, Surratt versus Vasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Surratt, you and Mr. Vasquez were in a relationship for a period of time and have 2 children together. How old are the children?
I have a daughter that's 15 and a son that's 8.
How long did you and Mr. Vasquez live together, if you did live together?
It was a lot of off and on, so I would say maybe a combined time of 8 years.
And does your daughter enjoy a relationship with her father?
Unfortunately, no.
Is that correct?
As far as I knew, that she had a great relationship with me.
When was the last time you saw your daughter, sir?
We spoke just a couple of days ago. You know, she has more time with friends now, but I do speak with her on a frequent basis.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Why don't you wait outside? Okay? Because, Ms. Surratt, I don't believe in, unless it's absolutely necessary, and certainly in this situation, it doesn't sound to me as if it's absolutely necessary to have your teenage daughter as a witness over a couple of $1,000s, which you may or may not be entitled to. Certainly, her father is in touch with her. She said he's in touch with her, which means that they communicate and that they have a relationship. Because I read the complaint and I read the answer, and I have a few basic questions. You're suing Mr. Vasquez, who you haven't lived with in many, many years, but who you share, according to what I've read here, joint legal and physical custody. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
And when was that court order made?
I have a copy of it, so I can tell you.
2011, Your Honor. 2011.
Was there a trial, Mr. Vasquez?
There was a trial, Your Honor, yeah.
Were you represented by counsel?
I represented myself.
And what about the plaintiff? Did she have a lawyer?
She did, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a copy of that order.
It was from 2017.
Well, there was one in 2011.
This is the original one. It hasn't changed since then. We have parenting and legal custody, and a child support order, which is separate.
Oh, so the 2016 order, the ex parte order, originally granted Mr. Vasquez custody of the children. Yes, you were the respondent in that case. It said on October 28, 2016, petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, filed a motion to establish custody and parenting time. The petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, seeks joint legal and physical custody. The petitioner also sought an order granting sole legal custody of the children based upon the allegations that his daughter was watching his son without supervision for extended periods of time and that his daughter was not attending school. Child Protective Services did an investigation and actually found that you were not sending your daughter to school.
Correct.
And she was staying home and she was babysitting. Okay. Would you tell me, without my having to go through this whole thing, was there a child support order entered?
Yes.
Ultimately the children remained with you?
Correct.
The final order. And what was the child support order?
The child support order initially was $93 a month. I think I have a copy of it. And then to increase based off cost of living adjustments every year.
Is that $93 a month for both children?
For both children.
Okay.
Yes.
The order was ultimately increased. How much do you pay in child support now, sir?
$230 a month, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, that's not the order.
Well, I asked how much you pay. Were you ever in arrears of payment?
I was at one point, and then I caught up, so I've been caught
Well,
up.
they're catching up, so that $230 may be partly arrears. What is the order?
Oh, I'm completely caught up with my child support.
So the current order that you're paying is $230 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is what you're suing for. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez agreed to pay half of certain sporting fees that the children had that are not contained in the child support order, and he didn't. So you're suing him for that, and he says that you never had such an agreement, that you enrolled the children in sporting activities, and then came to him and said, do you owe me half? Am I reading that correctly?
Your Honor, that's correct.
That's your position?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's move on to the plaintiff's position that you wanted to change the child support order to not what he was paying, but what he was paying, and half of their sporting activities.
We actually had a verbal agreement.
Well, I'd like you to tell me when that took place, what you said to him, and what he said to you. So tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person? Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money. Certainly wasn't a day, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, if we can arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
Desiree Surratt claims her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, owes for the cost of a car and childcare. Curtis is countersuing for car repairs and vacation expenses.
Tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if
No,
we enroll.
it's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
No, in person.
At your home?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the conversation. What did you say to him and what did he say to you?
I don't remember the exact words, but...
Well, that's why we bring these things quickly, because now it's 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was basically, well, he wants to play this sport, Angelina wants to do track, this is how much it's going to cost, and his response was just, okay, let me know how much it is, and I'll pay half.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not quite correct. We don't have just conversation. We don't have any conversation at all. We communicate via text, and I rarely get a response. I've taken care of...
Just a second. We're talking about this one instance.
Okay.
She said that you had a conversation with her where you agreed to pay half of their sporting events. Based on that, I assume that you enrolled the children in the sporting events, paid the fee, and then said to him, this is your half. And he said, I'm not paying that half.
That's not correct, Your Honor. I didn't agree to pay half.
No, I'm not saying you agreed to pay half. That's what her position is.
I actually enrolled my son into soccer.
When?
It was this summer in July. And he was supposed to go for a month, and she took the kids out of the state without my knowledge for an extended vacation. And so I didn't have her pay half of that. And when she came back, she wanted to make that up to him. But that's without my knowledge.
Okay. How much did you pay for soccer?
$75.
So you never had a conversation with her about paying half of this? And it was never reduced to a modified order of the court because you have a court order for support. Okay. So I'm eliminating that. You want to change the order of support, you have to change it in court. Now let's move on to the second thing that you think that he owes you for. Cell phone. Let's hear about the cell phone.
He opened a cell phone account for my daughter.
When?
I don't know when it was.
When did you open a cell phone account, sir?
About 7 years ago.
And he paid it? He opened an account and he paid it?
Him or his dad. It was a business account.
I don't care.
I don't know
You
who
didn't
paid
pay it.
Correct.
You didn't pay it. So your daughter has had a cell phone for the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you didn't see the bills for it?
Correct.
Okay, so he paid it.
Somebody paid it, yes. Yeah.
He paid it.
I paid it, Your Honor.
You didn't pay it?
Correct.
Okay. So now you want money for a cell phone. For what?
Just for the last 6 months that I paid. I never agreed to, so I'm just asking for
Then
half
take
of
the
that.
phone away.
Well, she's 15. She's got
I
a
understand
job,
that.
and
I understand that. Who bought her the phone?
I bought the phone.
Okay. And how many years ago did you buy the phone?
It was about 1.5 years ago.
Okay. And it was paid for on his plan?
No, I paid for the phone cash.
No. The bills, ongoing bills, were paid for by him and the phone that you bought her 1.5 years ago, because you said you've been paying the bills for 6 months.
Yep.
Is that correct? Whitney, didn't you say I've been paying the bills for the last 6 months?
Yes. Correct.
Well, so when you first got the phone for a year, he was paying the bills.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Well, he was paying the bills for 7 years, but certainly after you bought the phone. But prior to that, she had a different phone. She had to have had a different phone because he was paying the phone bills for 6 years. Who bought that phone?
I don't know.
Your Honor, I purchased that phone. It was the iPhone XR.
Okay. So you bought the first phone, you bought a second phone. Very nice. And he paid the bills, the phone bills for 6 years, and you paid it for the last 6 months. It's not part of a court order. If you agreed to do that, you agreed to do that. What are you getting courts involved for?
I never agreed to pay the cell phone.
Well, he never agreed to pay his cell phone when she was 13 or 12. Your parents. He paid it for a long time. Now you're paying it. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a realtor.
You work in a family business?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the family business.
It's children first and foremost. You know what's best for them.
No. The family business, sir.
Oh, the family business.
You're in real estate. Is it a family business?
It is not a family business.
It's just yours. And you've been in real estate for how long?
For about 3 years now. And prior to that, I was in sales. That is a family business, and it's real estate marketing.
That's a family business.
That's family business.
You're not involved with that anymore. You still are.
Yes.
Who owns that business?
Dad.
Your father?
He does, yes.
How many employees do you have?
Just about 10, Your Honor.
So your father employs 10 people and you're one of them?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And what does your father pay you annually?
Oh, it's commission only, so no benefits.
And in the other real estate operation, do you have your own office or do you operate out of your father's office?
My own office.
Where?
In Maple Grove, Minnesota.
Do you have any employees?
I don't.
So you work for your father on commission and yourself?
Commission only as well in the real estate market.
Okay. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
Is there any reason for that?
Just late. Just over.
You're late. You're a year late.
Yeah.
What about the year before? Did you file tax returns?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And how much did you declare as income the year before last?
It's like 55, I think. 55,000, yep.
Okay, so phone bill, I've taken care of the phone bill. You paid it for her, fine. And if you don't want to pay it anymore, let her get an after-school job and pay for her own phone. Now, the next thing that you're suing for is, according to your complaint, you had a car that you weren't using. Mr. Vasquez has a father who wanted a car. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez, without your permission, sold the car, your car, to his father for $700, and you didn't get any of that money.
Correct.
Mr. Vasquez says his father was going to buy the car. He drove it. He didn't want to buy it because it had issues, and it's sitting in his father's driveway waiting for you to come and get it, and that he never got $700 from his father for the car. That's his position, correct?
No, there's a correction. I did get $700 and paid him back the next day because the car broke down within a day.
Because what?
It broke down within a day.
Okay, so you did sell it to him?
Yes, yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
Desiree Surratt has accused her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, of selling her car without her permission. Curtis claims he refunded the money, and she can take the car back.
Okay, so you did sell it to him?
Yes, yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Is the car still titled in your name?
Yes.
So go get it.
I don't want the car, no.
Well, it's your car. It's titled in your name.
Yes, but apparently I have text messages showing he sold the car without my permission.
Whether he did or not, well, he can't sell the car because title never transferred.
Right.
And he's saying you can go and get the car. It's sitting in the driveway. His father doesn't want it. Title didn't transfer. He didn't get money for the car and keep it. It was a sort of silly transaction because what you are suggesting is he should have said to his father, that's it, it was sold, it's sold as is. You can't have your $700 back.
Right, and my understanding is that his dad, through a conversation that I had with his dad did not get the money back.
You can't tell me about the conversation. If you have text messages between them, I would like to see them.
I do, yes. So there's those text messages. And I also have several text messages where Curtis agrees to pay me the money and also telling me the
This
car
is
ran
Desiree. Curtis said you would take possession of the Kia, but I asked about the title. Big Curtis, is that your father?
Your Honor, yes, it is.
Okie dokie. Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money.
That's correct.
And that it certainly wasn't a day, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, sorry, not good at checking my text. If we could arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. That's 2 weeks later. Your father didn't say to her, he gave me the money back. He said, I want the title. That's 2 weeks later. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
Well, Your Honor, there's just one thing that we need to clear up right away is that it was never sold without her knowledge.
Just a second. Now what I'm asking you, sir, I'm saying that your original story to me was that I sold my father the car with her agreement. That's what you say here, for $700. He gave me the $700, but am I correct, Whitney, that the car broke down the next day?
He said the car broke down within a day.
Within a day, and so you gave him his money back. Well, that's not what your father says here, sir. That's not what your father says here.
I went back and forth with him for days, but I gave him his money back.
No, what you told me was a lie. You told me it broke down the day you gave him his money back. The initial conversation she had was May 9th. And then May 16th, she's having a conversation with Big Curtis. That's your father. Sorry for not checking my texts. Can you get me the title? Which means 2 weeks later, he wanted the title. And then your father says about you, Curtis owes me big time money, and I can't get money from him either. That's your father.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
correct, Your Honor.
Big Curtis says to her, can you tell me what problem does Curtis have that caused him to spend massive amounts of money in such a short period of time? She answers, drugs, alcohol, gambling, he's a functional addict. He even got around $40,000 and he blew every penny. So the $700 you gave him for the car, I'm just going to file a small claims. For whatever reason, he's refusing to give it to me. It's not your fault that he stole the money from me. Just FYI, I have no issue giving you the title. Okay. So far, he owes you $700 for the car. And then we're finished. Get Big Curtis the title. Mail it to him. He sends you his address.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Great. Now you have a counterclaim, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, Your Honor. I have some evidence I'd like to present.
Don't give me all that nonsense. You say that the plaintiff canceled a vacation trip. You made plane arrangements to take your children somewhere, and she took the children out of state. And car repairs that you gave her money for, car repairs, $250. I helped her repair her car and spent $250 on parts. When was that?
That was the car in question that we were just talking about.
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
My parents helped me with the purchase of the kids' tickets.
Why?
Because I couldn't afford all of them.
Who was going on the trip?
It was going to be my wife, myself, and 2 kids.
Did you go on the vacation to Portugal with your wife?
No, we did not make it.
You did not make it?
Correct. Why? Because she is responsible of...
No, not her. Not with your 2 kids. Did you go with your wife?
No, I didn't.
Why?
I didn't want to go without the kids. It was the whole purpose was to bring the kids to see the grandparents.
Does your wife work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a bartender.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Don't make any more private agreements with him, madam. I think it's a big mistake.
I agree.
We're done. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're
Your Honor.
finished.
Thank you.
I had one more.
I just ruled that your counterclaim is dismissed.
Your Honor.
You're finished.
I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get everything that I felt that I was owed.
Well, a bit disappointed. I felt like I had a lot more coming my way.
Number one, I will not do him any favors.
I've taken care of my kids financially for the last 7 years.
Especially of monetary value.
She feels entitled to 6 months, so be it, but I didn't agree to it.
I hope that this is kind of a wake-up call to him.
It's completely ridiculous. I'm just tired of having my name dragged through the mud.
To do honest business, whether it's in personal relationship or business.
I take care of my kids.
He's got a long history of owing money, not paying it back.
Always have, and always will, regardless.
He runs through family and friends and dry your pocketbooks and laugh out the door. He doesn't care.
Claim money for a cell phone that, I bought. And, I think this is all to do with spite.
Just my kids. At the end of the day, whatever's best for them.
I just want to be there for the kids, and I just want to be done with the drama.
I have very little to say about that case, very little thoughts, except that Big Curtis, the defendant's father, doesn't like him.
I didn't get to read the messages, but
clearly. He said, what is he doing with all the money? My initial reading of that case was, maybe she's being unreasonable. She's really not being unreasonable.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's not a lot more to little Curtis than we were able to see today.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton are suing Mary's brother, Michael Manry, for medical bills and personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2117, Favre Stockton versus Manry.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Manry, this is your sister.
Correct.
And that is her...
Fiance.
And you have a son who is 19.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many other children do you have?
I have 3 altogether.
How old?
One is almost 30, the other one is 18, and then I got the 19-year-old, which one here.
Okay. And your son, who is now 19, is the subject of this case. Who had custody of the children?
I got custody of Dakota. now.
When did you get custody of the children?
Only when he was 18 years old.
Do you have those papers, sir?
Yes, I do.
May I see them, please? Okay, so this grants you, sir, legal and physical custody of Dakota Manry until further order of the court. So what this case is about now, and I assume from what I've read, that Dakota has certain special needs.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of his special needs, he is unemployed. Did he finish any sort of a high school?
He graduated.
He graduated from
Yes.
high school?
Yes.
Did he go to a special school?
He went to a regular school, but he was in special education.
And when he graduated, did he graduate when he was living with you?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what your case is about. At some point, according to you, you have a niece. And your niece wanted to have Dakota come and stay with her for a couple of days. You were at the time, according to your answer, sort of in between residences. You were evicted from one place and going someplace else?
I was in the process of moving. I got my niece to go with me to, ask her if she'll bring me to go get Dakota by my cousin's house. And she said, sure.
Okay. Dakota went to live for a few days, at least, at your niece's house.
No, not live there. No, not live there. No, ma'am.
Well, he was there overnight.
He was over there overnight.
How many nights was he there overnight?
I think about maybe a week. I was supposed to be
okay.
3 days.
So he was there.
Yeah.
During that time, you, who are his aunt,
yes, ma'am,
went to your niece's house and you saw Dakota there.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, became concerned because, according to you, it looked like he hadn't showered in a week.
He was in dirty clothes. He just looked awful.
So you decided to take him to live with you?
I asked him, I said, do you want him to the house to stay, a little while, where he can eat and all that, because he looked like he hadn't ate either.
Okay. Well, this is what your case is about. You decided to take him, didn't discuss it with his father. During the time he was with you, he had some expenses. You want his father to be responsible for those expenses, and you want his father to return certain of his personal property. That's what the case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First, let me deal with all things legal. I have an order here dated January 21st, 2021, which grants physical and legal custody of Dakota to his father. Do you have any subsequent order granting you custody or guardianship, is my question.
I have power of attorney.
That is not the same thing. Can I see what they have?
Power of attorney when I didn't give her permission. I got custody.
Okay, this was signed by Dakota, so he's giving you legal power to act on his behalf.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Dakota, by signing this power of attorney, he's saying that I am a whole person, and I give you the right to make medical decisions for me if he can't do them. It's a general power of attorney in case he becomes unable to make decisions on his own. This is an order of custody. You have power of attorney. Power of attorney suggests to me that Dakota wants to emancipate himself from his father, wants someone else to act on his behalf. It becomes a complex question because if Dakota has special needs and if he can't act on his own, and a court has already ruled that his father should have custody of him, either you have a power of attorney and he's emancipated, in which case his father's not responsible for any of his medical bills, or this is invalid because he can't sign a power of attorney because he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand all of the implications of this power of attorney. Now, your nephew was in special classes.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know what the nature of his disabilities are?
Fetal alcohol syndrome.
Is that his diagnosis, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
He had, according to you, after you took him from your niece's house, and you do acknowledge you took him without his father's permission.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We was not talking, me and him.
It doesn't make any difference if you were talking or not.
I didn't have his number, and I asked Dakota, I said, text your daddy to let him know you're coming with me. Dakota said, and he showed me where he texted Michael. Now, I don't know if it was on a different Facebook page.
No, it's your responsibility to notify his guardian, who has custody, that you have taken physical custody of him.
Right.
And when did you take physical custody of him? Give me the month, day, and year.
May 20th of this year, 2022.
Now, while you had physical custody of Dakota, you indicate that he had surgery.
Yes, ma'am.
And part of what you want Mr. Manry to pay for is the ambulance bill. What kind of surgery did he have?
Brain surgery, and he had a feeding tube put in him.
Just a second. What caused you to take him to a hospital or to a doctor?
Your Honor, when he arrived at the house on the 20th, he had very bad slurred speech, and his balance was completely off. He was falling over. Your Honor, it was like he was a drunken man.
Let me go back to you for a second, sir. While Dakota was with you in the months just prior to May, did you notice Dakota having difficulty in his gait?
Not like he was explaining to me, I was going overboard.
No, did you?
But his balance was off, okay.
Did you inquire? Did you take him to the doctor?
I did. I took him, actually, right after I got him.
So you saw that balance was off a while ago?
When I noticed that he had headaches, all right, because his dream, thanks to me, was wrestling. He loves wrestling. I put him in wrestling. I talked to the promoters, and I did that for him. But when I seen every time he got body slammed, and this and that, I had to take him out of it. I got concerned because he was complaining of headaches. So I made him an appointment, and I waited for a referral. Well, when the referral came in, my kid was kidnapped.
So he never actually saw the second doctor?
No.
Okay. Do you have any records?
Well, I couldn't get the records. I tried to get them.
Once someone went wrong, my kid died doing surgery. I couldn't even be there for him and all that. Anything could have happened.
Just a second. I'm following you, sir. Now, when did you take him for this brain surgery?
I took him the first week of June. I took him to do a CAT scan. And as soon as she did that, we went to the hospital. We didn't leave the hospital. They put him in the ER. And from the ER, we went to Florence, Alabama. And then the surgeons there couldn't do it because it was so big.
What was so big?
Your Honor,
brain.
they found a mass the size of a grapefruit. The first week, Dakota came to stay with us after we noticed the balance issues and the slurred speech. She took him to Dr. who diagnosed him with being severely malnutritioned. Your Honor, when he came to my house, his
liar.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your Honor, sorry. My apologies.
His leg was no bigger around than my wrist.
I got it. Mr. Manry, everything has to be put in perspective. You had a lot of things going on. And if Mr. Stockton's reporting to me is accurate, even though there might be some bad feeling of the way your sister and her fiancé took physical custody of Dakota, you really have to be in a position to say thank you to them, because you, for whatever reason, not for lack of trying, nobody is suggesting for lack of trying, you did try to take him to a doctor, you did see that there were things wrong with him. I understand that it's not always that easy to get the right specialist to get involved in this kind of surgery, but you really have to take a breath. Yeah. And I assume it's accurate, because I cannot assume that anybody would perform brain surgery on a child that was not necessary. That
okay, why she couldn't call me?
She should. Just a second. Just a second. Your sister should have called you and told you that Dakota was going into the hospital to have surgery. That would have been the nice thing to do. Did you do that?
She did.
No, she did not.
She called.
I called
their
my mama.
mother.
Well, calling your mother.
His phone was disconnected. I did not have the new number until he called me or texted me with a bunch of drama. That's when I got his number.
You took my kid from me. You kidnapped my son no matter what.
Mr. Manry, what I want you to do is just take a breath for a moment.
Yes, ma'am. Dakota kept texting me, he kept on video chatting me and everything. And then all of a sudden, like a light switch, he changed and everything. The boy's mind's being poisoned by Mary and
No, so far, Mr. Manry, you're not losing this case, so I don't know what you're agitated about.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton claim Mary's brother, Michael Manry, owes for medical bills and personal belongings. Michael is countersuing, saying they illegally took his son from his custody.
Mr. Manry, Dakota was only at your niece's house for a short while. You already told me that when he came to you, his gate was off. So right before he went to stay for a couple of days at your niece's house, was his speech slurring?
No, he always had a speech impairment because of the disability, but his speech was not slurred at all. That is a lie. Him having the skinny arms and all, that's all
Okay,
lie.
I'm not talking about skinny arms. I'm talking about this his slurred speech. What I was saying to you, Mr. Manry, is that I don't think there are any bad guys here. I don't think that you're a bad guy. And I don't think that your sister and her fiancé meant any harm when they saw a situation that they thought was dangerous. And as it turned out, they were able to get him seriously needed medical care. That doesn't mean it was all done right. But what you're asking for is to be compensated by the defendant for the cost of the ambulance bill that you incurred. Now, this power of attorney was signed by Dakota, if in fact he had capacity to sign this power of attorney. It was done 2 weeks after his first surgery. So up until that time, even if I could construe this as a valid document, his father had legal and physical custody of Dakota. And I assume that's because he had special needs and is unable to live on his own. Is your son able to live on his own?
No, he never will.
Okay, so that's what I assume as a result of this order. If you want this order changed, you have to go back to the court in Mississippi. You have to be declared his guardian.
Your Honor, we did not want to be declared his guardian. The reason the POA came about to start with, during the entire surgical...
Your Honor, can I say something?
The father was aware of it. So was the mother. The mother was actually present at most all of the appointments.
It doesn't matter. The mother doesn't have custody, legal or physical.
We were under the impression, and were told she did, that he only had a temporary custody. So she showed up to say she had to sign all the documents. She was going to do this. She was going to do this. She was going to do this.
Did she sign the documents?
She signed some. Then under social services directions, Mary was informed she should go after a power of attorney. It was discussed with both Dakota and her.
It may be. That's not a lawyer. That's bad advice. Now, just before I get to the issue of clothing, property, whatever he has that's at your house, and where it should go from here, your first stop is to go back to the court in Mississippi that issued this order and say to them, I need Dakota's law guardian. He'll be appointed a guardian for himself, independent of you, and they will interview him and they will do certain evaluations of him and determine where it is that he wants to live. But you have to do that in court. You can't do that ad hoc because you relied on his mother's statements that she had the authority to sign off on these things. She did not until this is changed. And if you want to change it, you are free to go in and try, and then Dakota will be interviewed and seen by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and he'll have a medical evaluation and determine whether or not he is a person who actually requires guardianship. And if he requires guardianship, you can petition for that, and you'll have a trial. This is not that trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Did Dakota have Medicare?
Medicaid.
He had Medicaid.
That would pay for the ambulance ride.
Yeah, I just want to know if he had Medicaid. He did.
I did give them the Medicaid number, and they keep sending me a bill, and I called them, and they said because it's a different state, it's not covered.
It doesn't matter. Tell them to send their bills to his father. Tell them that you do not have custody or guardianship of this child. His father has custody, guardianship, and this bill is not yours.
The bill is going to Dakota. They're going after Dakota for it. His Medicaid didn't pay for it.
They may be going after Dakota for it. They will be very smart seeking payment from people who can pay them, which is his parents. Right now, you're not legally responsible to pay for his ambulance bill. The only person who might be legally responsible for it is his father, and that will be up to the ambulance company to do. This is not your responsibility at all. So discount the ambulance bill. Next to Dakota's things, you want property that he has in his father's house. So let me go back to you with regard to my statement to you 4 minutes ago. You have to have this custody order modified. You have to go back to the same court that issued a legal and physical custody order of Dakota to his father and say, we would like guardianship of him. He wants to stay with us. He's 19 years old. He will be interviewed. He'll be analyzed. And if at the end of the day you get guardianship of Dakota, then his father may or may not turn over whatever property he has. Dakota's never worked. So whatever property he has was either purchased or given to him by either his mother or his father or other relatives.
A lot of it was his mom that paid for the stuff.
I don't know that.
No, the bottom line is why all this balls down through, Your Honor.
So far, Mr. Manry, you're not losing this case, so I don't know what you're agitated about. You're not losing. You're not losing. What I'm telling the plaintiffs is that if they think that they can provide a more pleasant, stable environment for Dakota, they have the right to petition for guardianship of him. Now, it would be in Dakota's best interest long-term if he were to have contact with both his mother and his father. Contact. I'm not saying live with. Mother, father, and his aunt, and his soon-to-be uncle, as soon as you make up your mind and give her a ring. It's in his best interest. He needs the largest community that he can.
Agree.
Okay, we're going to stop throwing barbs because that only serves to inflame already raw emotions. I want you to say, I am angry that I wasn't consulted in this massive surgery that your son had, but I'm grateful that it was done, because if it wasn't done, in all probability, he wouldn't be here. You just have to think about that.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton have accused Mary's brother, Michael Manry, of owing for an ambulance bill. Michael claims Mary and Jason took his son without his permission.
What I'm telling you is a very simple procedural thing where you have to go. You can't sue him for the return of Dakota's things unless you have guardianship of Dakota.
Understood.
Because he already is the subject of a recent order of custody from a court. That's what you have to have. You can take that bill from the ambulance service, put it in an envelope, we'll get you the address, and that's where that goes. That's his father, who is his legal parent under this order. So send that bill to them so you don't have to worry about that bill. As far as his property is concerned, that has to go along with an order of custody or guardianship, and that's something that you should do. But, Mr. Manry, I am not making a decision with regard to his custody or not. What I'm asking you is, until a court reviews whatever orders they're going to make with regard to custody and guardianship, first, I know you may be angry, but they probably saved his life by getting him to the doctor that they did. And if they removed a massive tumor from his brain, you should say, thank you for doing that, because it was a month after he was living with you. Someone else took your son and saved his life. And for that, at least, you have to be grateful. You can be angry. You can be angry that you didn't get it done before. You can be angry that somebody else did it without consulting you. You can be angry at all of those things. But at the same time, you have to feel grateful that it was done.
There wasn't no reason they kidnapped my son.
Okay. Mr. Manry, you keep going back to the same song.
I was worried about
You keep going back to the same song. And what I'm saying to you is, their next stop, if Dakota wants to live with them, and he's right now over 19 years old, is to the court who issued the order to modify that order. All I'm saying to you is, I want you to say, I am angry that I wasn't consulted or didn't participate in this massive surgery that your son had, but I'm grateful that it was done, because if it wasn't done, in all probability, he wouldn't be here. You just have to think about that. What I'm telling you is, you have to love your child more than you, at this moment, dislike your sister and her fiancé, because they were able to take control of a situation and get your child fixed. So is Dakota, just for my own, is Dakota angry with his father?
He's angry that his father won't return any of his wrestling He is correct. He is a huge wrestling fanatic.
Okay. What particularly does he want? He wants his wrestling?
He wants his wrestling belts. They have replica belts that were made. He wanted his PlayStation 4 and the wrestling game.
PlayStation 4, I'm not interested in that. He wants his wrestling belts.
Yes, ma'am.
Yana, can I show you something right quick on my phone? Dakota kept texting me, you know, he kept on like video chatting me and everything. And then all of a sudden, like a light switch, he changed and everything. The boy's mind's being poisoned by Mary and Jason.
What I'm telling you, Mr. Manry, that's for another court and another day. When Dakota has a lawyer, you may have a lawyer to modify this custody order. Right now, he would like his wrestling belts.
Oh, I want my son to come home.
Okay, then I strongly urge you to go to the court, file a petition against them for custodial interference, or you go to court and file an application for guardianship of Dakota, which is a much more positive thing to do, and let a court that has the social work services, the psychiatric services, evaluate Dakota and figure out in whose best interests are we supposed to place faith. And I think if he is a thinking young man, and you told me that he is because he wants these things that are important to him, he should be able to have a say with whom he lives. Now, you have my ruling. Your next stop, folks, is to modify the order of the court in Mississippi that gave his father custody, physical and legal custody of him. You have to petition for guardianship. That's your next step. So, in that regard, your case is dismissed. Send the ambulance bill to his father.
I got a counter-suit,
We're done.
Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it, sir.
Okay. I did everything I can for my kids, and
My brother, he said nothing but lies.
when somebody takes your kid without your permission,
But, you know, that's him. I mean, that's what he does.
you don't know where they're at, and you're going crazy because you don't know where your kid's at, that's kidnapping.
I should get a thank you out of it, but he's not going to do that.
I want my son to come home to his daddy because I love him very much. That's my son.
It's about him. It's not about her. It's not about her and her brother. It's not about me and her brother.
My son, I love him. I'll do anything in the world for him.
It's about Dakota.
So you didn't listen to the defendant's counterclaim back there for emotional distress for, I believe it was $3,500. I would have given that to him. I don't think anyone was acting maliciously in this case. Like you said to the father, he should be grateful that his son is alive and his sister took action when he might have been stumbling a little bit. But that's what that cause of action is for, when someone takes an action that was legally incorrect. And here, the plaintiffs had no legal right to take him to get that surgery. I agree that he should have had it and it all came from a good place. However, when you take an action that causes somebody else such severe emotional distress, and I would consider taking someone else's child in for the riskiest surgery that probably exists, qualifies as causing some severe emotional distress. So I probably would have awarded him that if I was ruling.
Well, so let me give you the reason that I didn't bother to hear it. I think the aunt and her fiancé had nothing but pure motives in taking this 19-year-old who they say appeared to be malnourished, and they say was diagnosed as being malnourished, which is possible, and it's possible that it was all related to this brain tumor that he clearly had that was impairing his stability, and he was with his father for a year while this tumor was growing. I don't think that they had malicious intent.
Neither do I.
And I think that but for their actions, this 19-year-old boy probably would be dead. If they took out the tumor that was the size of a grapefruit, I would say 6 months later or 8 months later, there's a strong probability that would affect the optic nerve, affect the carotid artery, and gone. So although I could understand his annoyance, from the time they went to live with him until his surgery was a month. And I actually don't believe that this father didn't know where he was for a month, because they evidently have a living mother who they're both in touch with. He was moving around, phone disconnected. At the hospital, the mother showed up. She said, I can sign the documents. Well, you know, you're involved in major surgery for a child. Your focus is not on your brother, who did not take care of business for a year. So I'm going to leave that up to a family court judge to determine who should have custody, and I probably guarantee you that custody will remain with his aunt, because that's what Dakota wants. Father may be angry, but that's what's going to happen. I have no doubt that the father loves him. He did not take good care of him for the year.
Sure.
And so I wasn't going to reward that by giving him any money against these people who had nothing but the child's best interest, when for a year he really didn't take care of business with his son. And that's why I didn't hear his case for emotional distress.
Understood.
Are suing their former landlord, Charles Ashley, for sabotaging their business, vet bills, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2036, Carter versus Ashley.
Thank you. Welcome. Your sisters, is that correct?
Yes.
You decided, according to your complaint, to go into a business, some sort of a doggy daycare. In what month and year did you decide to go into that business?
This year, 2 months ago, May.
Do you have any dogs of your own?
Yes.
How many?
I have a poodle and 2 pits.
And you?
I have 4 pit bulls.
Did they all live in your home?
They did, yes.
They did?
Yes.
The two of you decided to go into this alleged business and needed some space, according to you, and went to the defendant, who was renting a house. Is that right, Mr. Ashley?
No, it's not a house.
What is it?
It's a building.
What kind of building?
It's a commercial building.
Okay. On this commercial building lot, there's a backyard or a back
yes.
empty space, and it's an open space with a fence.
Yes.
So it's not a home.
No.
What arrangements did you make with the Carter sisters to rent them that space?
I made arrangement with Deborah Carter.
May I see? Deborah Carter.
Correct.
That's you.
Yes.
When for the first time did you meet Deborah?
I think it was around the 4th of June.
And she wanted to bring some dogs onto your property.
Correct.
How many dogs did she want to bring on your property?
She didn't tell me. She told me she had a kennel. And when I got there and she had the dogs there in 2 cages, it was 7 dogs, 7 pit bulls.
In cages?
And yes, and they're there today.
They're still there?
Yes.
May I see them, please?
I don't have them, and I didn't know what to get together.
Okay, I'd like to see what pictures you have, sir.
Yeah. This is the 30-day notice that I've given them, and those are the pictures where she damaged.
Miss Carter, sometime after June of this year, did you place dogs in this fenced-in open space in cages?
Yes.
Loud. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yes.
And how many dogs did you place in the cages?
At that time, it was 7.
7 adult dogs?
No, there's 3 adults and 4 puppies or 5.
How old were the puppies?
They were 6 months, 5 or 6 months.
Who did the dogs belong to?
Me.
So all those dogs...
Well...
Let's get it right the first time. This is not going to get easier. This is going to get harder, Miss Carter. So the 7 dogs that you... Stop playing with your papers. The 7 dogs that you placed in the cages were your dogs.
Mine's my sister's and another friend.
How many were yours? You had 4 pit bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Were your 4 pit bulls there?
Yes.
Yes, that's a yes. So you're 4. Your sister has 2 pit bulls. Were her... Look at me. Your sister has 2 pit bulls. Were her 2 pit bulls there?
Yes.
So that's 6. And somebody else had 1.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the person who had 1?
They're not here. It's a friend. We were watching their dog. They
okay,
have a
so
dog.
You put your 4 pit bulls, your sister's 2 pit bulls, and a friend's pit bull in 2 cages.
No.
How many cages?
There are 4 cages, but...
Okay. I'd like to see pictures of the 4 cages. There you go.
And that's just to separate them.
Your Honor, when she...
By 6.
Shh. Just a second. Prior to meeting the defendant, where did you keep your 4 pit bulls?
In the yard at my home.
Was it in the backyard that you kept the 4 pit bulls?
Yeah, they had space in the backyard, but they stayed in the house. And then when it's time to do their thing, they go outside. They stayed in the house in the living room.
So they were house dogs?
Yes.
And what about your 2 pit bulls?
I stayed in the front house. They stayed in the house with me.
On what date did you bring your pit bulls to the yard? June 4th?
June 6th.
6/6. And you paid him for a month. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes.
How much did you pay him for the month?
$500.
And the 3 puppies that were 6 months old, what did you intend to do with those?
We had people that wanted them. We were supposed to
Wait, just a second. Were they yours or hers? Who did the 3 puppies belong to?
Me.
They belong to you. So don't speak for her.
Okay.
Good.
I've been speaking for all my life.
I don't care what you've been doing all your life. Right now, I'm getting answers to someone who may or may not be swift enough or savvy enough not to tell me the truth. Did you ever have more than 7 dogs in the yard?
No.
Okay. So this is what I'm sort of confused about. Of the 7 dogs that you kept in his yard, 6 of them were pit bulls that belonged to you. And what you're suing him for is, you say, because of him, you lost your kennel business where you want, well, that's what it says here. You lost your kennel business.
Daycare.
What?
It's
a dog daycare.
It's a daycare.
There's no dog daycare. They were your dogs.
No, we were supposed to be inside. We were only supposed to be outside for a week. The business is a business, like you said. It has a storefront. It has a middle section. The storefront is where we take the small dogs. When you come in, we'll greet you, assess it, bring in the small dogs. If you have bigger dogs, he has a middle section. We were supposed to split the building in half.
And
he never cleaned the inside of the building. We had to go in there, power wash it ourselves. We bought our own paint. We were only supposed to be outside for 2 weeks until his people cleaned the inside for us.
Okay. Is that what you were supposed to do?
No, Your Honor, they are lying.
Okay.
The building was a motorcycle shop. They ain't brought no paint. They ain't cleaned nothing in it. It's still not clean.
Okay.
And
were
they didn't have no money.
Just a second. How much in total did they give you for rent?
$500.
Is that correct?
Yes.
For the first
Just
month.
a second. Did you give him any more than $500?
No.
Did you have any other dogs other than your 6 dogs and somebody else's 1 pit bull ever on the premises?
No.
No, don't speak. I'm speaking to her. So whatever business you were, your investment in this business was $500.
No. I worked for him May 25th to June 1st. I cleaned out 25 refrigerators.
I don't care. That's not in here.
That was a pay. Yes, it is.
She ain't work for me.
Just a second.
I sent it to you guys.
Just a second. Miss Carter, there is absolutely nothing here that says that you worked for him and he owes you for that.
Well,
let me tell you what your complaint states. Your complaint says money owed for sabotaging a business, vet bills because one of your dogs was injured, and
I'm not saying
actual and punitive damages for assault. That's what you're claiming.
I'm just saying that I cleaned those appliances. He said that that was a payment for rent. So that was for the second month of rent. It was $500.
Just a second.
He was supposed to pay me every day, but I just told him to put it towards the rent.
Okay.
And that's what we agreed to. So
okay,
the first month and the second month was paid for.
Listen to me. My question is simple.
Yes.
There's only one attitude here, madam. Stand up. Are your dogs still there?
Some of them.
Get them off his property.
Why is
It's
that?
not
It's
his
over.
property.
Very easy. You want to keep dogs in a cage like this? I can't control that. I am certainly not putting a judicial imprimatur on keeping dogs, and I don't care what breed they are, in cages in a backyard. So what I'm telling you this is you have 24 hours to get your dogs off that property. Get them off. He's going to get an order from a marshal. And if your dogs aren't off that property, they're going to the pound.
So
do you
why is that-
understand?
why is that?
I want you to
Why?
understand. I want you to understand my order, because now we're in August. You started this whole process in June. I'm finishing it before it gets too mucky. Get your dogs off the property. We understand each other?
Why is that?
Why? What did we do? We paid. We
Like
did
the
everything.
only-
No, you paid him for 1 month in June.
But we
You
worked
paid
for
him.
Oh.
You paid him in 1 month in June. We are now in August. This is a marriage that's not going to go well. Get your dogs off his property, and then you don't have to deal with them anymore.
property,
it's not
ma'am.
his
Do you
property.
understand?
It's not his
No,
property.
I don't
want-
understand. You don't understand that
If it's not his property, then what are you suing him for?
We're
Because
suing-
he's the one who stabbed me.
Oh, just
And
a
he's the
second.
one who-
Just a second. So if we're eliminating money owed for sabotaging a business, and if you're suing him for assault, then I'll hear your assault. Then I don't have to hear any of the things about the dogs. So all I'm going to hear about is the assault. Tell me what happened. You were assaulted. That's what you want to tell me.
Yes, July 5th, we had came. My witness, if she could speak, she had
No, she wasn't assaulted, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She was assaulted first, actually. She's the first one he swung on.
Okay. Step up. July 5th. Your name is what?
Priscilla Walker.
You don't own any of these dogs, do you?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing on the property on the 5th of July?
I sometimes go and help them with the dogs, clean up and feed the dogs.
And those dogs that were there, they were there for at least a month from June 4th to July 5th.
Correct.
They're 6 pit bulls.
Correct.
Right? That used to be, according to them, in the backyard or in their homes, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, Priscilla, I want you to look at me, and they're your friends, right? So you went over to help them.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what it is that caused them to take these house dogs, dogs that were in their homes and in their backyard if they had to relieve themselves, don't speak, and move them into cages in a backyard in a commercial building. I want you to tell me that.
Your Honor, that wasn't the intent. They moved the dogs for a bigger space because they're entrepreneurs and they wanted to start a business.
Just a second, it's not their business. Business is starting a business with somebody else's dogs, not your dogs. They wanted to start a doggy, uncross your arms. They wanted to start, according to them, a doggy daycare. Mm-hmm. That I understand. But you don't start a doggy daycare by taking your dogs that are house dogs and putting them in cages in somebody else's backyard.
Why not?
Or somebody else's space.
Your Honor, that's not necessarily true. We're millennials. When you're boosting a business, you want to use yourself and what you have as advertisement. And that's what they did. So the other dog that they did have was a friend, and the friend was actually paying for that dog to stay there. So it did deem it a business at that time.
You still haven't answered my question as to why their 6 pit bulls were in cages when they were formerly house dogs for a month.
Your Honor, the gentleman over here to my left did not allow them they didn't have access to what they paid for.
Just a second. Are you telling me that for a month they didn't have access for the dog? You just told me that you would go there and help them clean up.
To the inside of the building that was promised.
I'm not talking about the inside of the building.
Okay.
And the
pay clear.
We got the whole yard.
Pay careful.
Yard inside the building.
They're not hearing all of you, and you're not answering my question. The 3 of you went there for what purpose on July 5th?
To feed and clean up after the dogs.
How'd you spend the weekend with them?
I was there.
I'm not speaking to you.
Denise and Deborah Carter claim their former landlord, Charles Ashley, broke an agreement to store their dogs. They also claim he assaulted them. Charles claims he was the one who was assaulted.
Okay, if I was starting a doggy daycare business and I had house dogs, my little Shih Tzus, running around the house where they have been for years, I would not take them and put them in cages in a back vacant lot in order to demonstrate that I had a business.
My dogs slept in the house. They slept in the house. They didn't roam in like your little Shih Tzus. They didn't do that.
Just a second, you told me that they stayed in your house.
I said they slept in the house, in a cage, in an area.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't understand how you could take your pets.
But they stayed outside.
Because we were offering other things. We wanted to have one.
All right, let's get to the assault. I'm not interested in this. Now.
Your Honor, I have the lease here. I'm paying the owner $4,000 a month.
He lied to the loaner and said he wasn't going to do any subleasing. He subleased
The only thing I'm interested in is the only thing I'm interested in is the assault. So Priscilla, don't speak. The 3 of you went there for what purpose on July 5th?
To feed and clean up after the dogs.
Okay, and you had done that before?
Yes.
And when you got there on July 5th, was that over a holiday weekend?
Yes, it was.
It was a Tuesday.
It
was a Tuesday, so July 4th was on a Monday.
Yeah.
Had you spent the weekend with them?
I was there.
I'm not speaking to you. Had you spent the weekend with them?
No. Yeah.
Okay, you say yes, she says no. I'm not asking you a question. Do you understand? So you spent July 4th.
Go ahead.
You spent July 4th with them. Is either yes or no?
No.
When did you meet them on July 5th?
Around the morning.
Around what time?
11 a.m.
You're asking me with a question.
11 a.m.
I don't know if it was 11. I'm asking you.
11 a.m.
Did you have a discussion with them?
Regarding?
Regarding the dogs, what you were going to do that day.
Of course, we always have discussions about what we're going to do during the day.
When you spoke to Deborah, did you ask her when she had last seen the dogs?
No.
No, you did not. Deborah, prior to July 5th, when had you last seen the dogs?
July 4th.
What time?
It was about 5 o'clock. I was in there, cleaned them up. He came, locked me in for 4 hours.
Okay, so on July 4th, you were in there feeding the dogs.
Yeah.
And July 5th, you went back in the morning again to feed the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer.
Yeah.
Now, tell me what happened when you got there on July 5th.
On July 5th, when we went inside to feed the dogs, I went to go turn on the water hose, and I noticed that the water would not come out. That's when they were in the kennels feeding the dogs, and I told Carter that, hey, the water's not on. So the door to the building was open. I believe they both stepped in. When they stepped in, there was like verbal altercation.
So when they stepped in, you heard that there was someone else in the building?
Yeah.
Okay, and that would have been you, sir?
Yes.
On the 5th?
Yes, me and another friend of mine.
Okay, and what were you doing in the building on July 5th?
It was about 6 o'clock that evening. My friend came by the house. He's a general contractor, and I'm renovating the building to set it up for business. So I said, come on, let me take you up here, show you the building. I need your help. We get up there. I open the gate, go in, leave the gate unlocked, and we walk through the building. When I come around, they are in the building.
All three of them or just one?
All three of them.
Had you turned the water off to the hose outside?
No.
Do you
I used
know?
to water the dogs when they didn't come because they'd be barking so, and the neighbors next door, I just moved in, Your Honor. I don't want to make no enemies. That's why I told them I'm not taking no more rent from you. Get the dogs out.
Okay.
I tell them you trespass.
Just a second. So now you went inside, or the Carter sisters went inside.
Yeah, I stood
You
there.
heard some noise. Did you go into the building?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened when you went into the building?
When I went into the building, he immediately got very frustrated and said, what are you guys doing here? Why are you here? You need to get off my property, get off my property. They're like, we paid you. We have an agreement. And next thing you know, he pushed Deborah Carter. He pushed her. And then that's when Denise Carter got in the middle and said, no, you're not, don't put your hands on my sister. The situation ensued. The gentleman that was inside stopped everything and walked him out of the building. And as he's walking him out of the building, and we're walking out behind him so that we can try to figure out what's going on with the water, he slams her foot in the door and tries to lock her in and pushes her. And that's when they started pushing on the door because at this point he's trying to lock them in.
Lock them in the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
When they actually, the gentleman stopped him and the door opened, I seen what type of altercation it was. I didn't want anything to do with it. I'm like,
so at that point, nobody was injured?
No.
Okay, so now you're outside.
Now we're outside.
Okay, and you're outside in the back area where the dogs are.
Correct.
Tell me what happened next.
So as we're walking, I'm walking fast because I noticed that he's walking fast, and I'm like, you're not about to lock me in here. You already just tried to lock them in there.
You mean lock you in the
yard?
So you got out of the yard?
Yes, he tried to close the yard gate on us, which is a really big, tall, black gate. And as soon as he tried to close it, it was just an altercation, a verbal altercation started. He didn't like what was said. I was on the left-hand side.
Tell me what the altercation was.
Everything was said about the business, that they were going to speak to the owner, that, he still owed them money if he wanted them to move out for the rest of the month, that he could just give them the money or whatever and they'll leave. It wasn't a problem.
By the way, I am looking at your lease, and you did lease the premises from June of 2022 to May 31st, 2025 at a monthly rent of $4,000. Are you still paying rent to the owner of the building?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to remove your dogs there.
He's not paying rent. He has an eviction notice too. He owes $4,000. I have a picture of it.
He's lying.
He hasn't paid rent.
Nothing
He
else
hasn't
he's
paid
saying
rent
is true.
this month or last month. He got the eviction last month on the 11th.
Okay, Right now, he has not been evicted from the property. Is that correct, or have you?
Right.
I just paid him yesterday.
Why did you say you did?
Just a second. Oh, I'm asking a simple question. I have before me, ladies, pay attention. I have before me a lease that gives him 3/4 of the building and the backyard. Until he's evicted, until this lease is deemed void, you have to remove your dogs within 24 hours of today.
Why?
I am evicting you with a marshal tomorrow. Get your dogs out of there. He has medical records that he received 5 staples in the top of his head. And that's not something he did to himself.
That happened.
That's not something he...
No.
Get up, stand up. Where do you think you are?
Denise and Deborah Carter have accused their former landlord, Charles Ashley, of breaking their agreements and assaulting them. Charles claims Denise and Deborah attacked him first.
Okay, we're going to get back to this assault because I have other things to do today. You're outside. The gate that he's tried to cross has opened up again. And
he got really angry. He was saying a lot of curse words, you know, you need to remove all your, you know what, if you don't remove it, I'm gonna remove it for you type stuff. And after that, he swung with his right hand and it connected with my face. After that, he started punching on all of us, so we had to defend ourselves and fight back.
And then an altercation got started, and everybody was fighting with everybody. So it was the three of you and him.
Yes. That's
Okay.
correct.
Did you go to a doctor?
No, but I was.
Just a second. Did you take photographs of your face?
No.
What about you? Deborah, were you hit by the
Yes, I was.
defendant?
Yes, I was.
Where were you hit by the
my face and my foot. No pictures, and I didn't go to the doctor. I self-healed.
Good. And what about you, Miss Carter? Where were you hit?
Doctor. I had to go to the ER because I had to get stitches. I had 9 stitches.
Okay. Well, tell me about the stitches. That's what I want to know. How did the cut that required the stitches take place?
When he was attacking us, he was swinging on me, and he had a blade in his hand, and I thought he was punching me, but really when I was blocking myself, he was taking.
That was the second occurrence, because after the first one, we tried to leave the situation. He was upset and put out a knife.
We thought we were leaving,
with
he
the
just
knife.
came back with the knife, and
now I'd like to see the records.
Here's the knife records, and then here's the police records on when he was arrested, and that's just like my stitches and what doctor I went to and like my medication.
Okay. Now I'm going to take a look. Okay, Mr. Ashley, the only thing that I actually want to know about from you is there's no question in my mind that the plaintiff did not cut herself. No question. I want to know how she got cut.
I don't know, sir, Your Honor. I didn't even have a wallet on me. I'm 75 years old. I wouldn't even argue with her. I went to the back door, the gate, and they had a trash can where they had propped it open. So I went to move the trash can, and that's when this one hit me and knocked me down. And when I was coming up, Deborah hit me in the head with a 2x4. And blood just went everywhere.
Did you go to the doctor?
Yes.
I'd like to see your report.
It's in the record.
Your Honor, I have a video of what happened. I could just saw this right now.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Do you have it through the assault? I'm just interested in the assault.
It's just the assault.
Just the assault?
Yeah, it's just press
I'd like
play
to
right
see it.
here. Okay, if you press play, you'll see him slamming us out.
I don't see any assault.
Well, yeah, I tell you, my phone fell out the hand.
Well, then don't show me what I can't see. All I know is he has medical records that he received 5 staples in the top of his head on that date. And that's not something he did to himself.
No.
Get up, stand up.
He
Where do you
did do
think
that.
you are? You think he did that to himself?
Yes, do you see the tire behind him? He just fell over it.
That's
and
exactly
all
what
that
happened.
wood behind him, he fell on that
Shush.
stuff.
Listen to me. Blunt head trauma, which is what the emergency, which is what the emergency.
Yourself down.
Okay.
You attacked us.
You
If
have-
you're attacking us and punching
Listen to me. Listen to me carefully. You have Now sit. You have 24 hours to get your dogs out of that yard. You want to show me pictures of a trash-strewn yard? That's not where I would keep my precious house dogs for an hour. So get your dogs out of there 24 hours from today.
How do I honor that?
This is not a dance party. I'm ruling now. 24 hours, remove your dogs. You have nothing left to do with him. He wants you gone. I want you gone. I want those dogs out of the cages on that property, and I want them gone within 24 hours. Now, there's no question, Mr. Ashley, that both of you were injured in that altercation. No question. All I'm asking is, subsequent to your arrest, did you have a hearing?
No, Your Honor, I have it right here. They rejected the case.
May I see it?
They wouldn't even hear it.
They rejected it. Did you have a hearing?
They didn't tell me about anything.
They didn't tell you about anything. Well, that's because they rejected the case. Okay, I'm telling you, because I'm issuing an order, I'm giving it to you. You're the lawful tenant of the building. You can take it to a marshal, take it to the sheriff. Those dogs have to be out of there within 24 hours. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
You know, it is what it is.
I thought it was a good decision. It was the truth.
He has no consequences. It just is the reason why you don't believe in the judicial system.
I'm not going to be renting out to them no more, and I'm not going to rent to nobody.
I think that it's so cruel to keep 7 dogs in small crates, day, night.
Especially in a commercial building, open lot.
People shouldn't have dogs that do that. There should be a license required to own a dog, not necessarily to be a dog, but to own another living creature. I don't know what kind of mind would think that it's fair to keep a living creature in a filthy,
dusty,
infested yard in crates for now 3 months. I don't know.
Autumn Burke is suing her former friend, Freya Brown, for vandalizing her car and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2186, Burke versus Brown.
Thank you. Ms. Burke, I understand that you and the defendant met when you were both in foster care.
Yes.
How old are you?
19.
And how old were you, if I can ask you these questions? If you're uncomfortable, please let me know. How old were you when you went into foster care?
16, I believe.
Were you originally placed in group homes?
Yes, and through Orangewood Foundation, as well as transitional housing programs.
When did you start transitional housing from group homes?
I started that when I was 17. That was in 2021, where I was roommates with Freya, and we lived there.
Okay, and could you describe the facility where you were living?
We were living in Tustin, an apartment complex where they rent out the rooms and they have foster kids go in there and then they pay, well, they don't pay rent, but it's a transitional program to move up to the extended foster care transitional housing program for after you're 18. So it's better to be placed into this one, so it helps foundation towards the next one.
Towards total independence?
Yes.
And how long did you stay in that facility? Until when?
Like a few months after I turned 18, I got into the Costa Mesa transitional housing.
Okay, from Costa Mesa, do you go into any other facility through the foster care system, or are you then supposed to get a job and get on your own 2 feet?
So this program, the independent living program, it's really hard for foster kids to get into. You have to be set up with all the requirements, and so...
What kind of requirements? Are there academic requirements?
Yeah, academic requirements, working, going to school, meeting with the manager that comes in every week. Yes.
Were you going to school?
Yes.
What school were you going to?
Golden West College.
Are you still going to school?
Yes, I currently am taking a break from this semester, but I'm still going to continue it.
Are you working?
Yes.
And you living on your own?
I'm renting a room out in Irvine with 2 different roommates.
And Ms. Brown, what about you? How long have you been in the foster care system, and how old are you now?
I've been in the foster care system since I was 13 years old. I am currently 19.
Tell me where you're living.
Right now, I live in a rented room in a house also in Irvine.
Tell me what you're doing.
Right now, I work in sales. I'm a sales associate.
Is it a full-time job?
It's part-time. I'm also in school. I go to Fullerton College, and I'm a biology major.
Interesting. Are you good in science?
I really liked science in high school, so yeah.
Well, you seem like two absolutely delightful ladies. I don't know why you got into this kerfuffle, but each one of you claim that you were assaulted by the other. You claim that Ms. Brown caused vandalism to your car. Ms. Brown says that you had her falsely arrested after this altercation, which seems to be an unhappy event over a guy.
Over a guy.
I mean, they're necessary evils, but over a guy. Two lovely girls who probably weathered a lot of storms in your life to keep together that most 15, 16-year-olds don't have to do. How could two nice girls get into a kerfuffle over a guy?
I have no idea.
Go.
Okay, so on September 2nd, near 10 p.m., I was cooking us dinner, and Freya's sitting at the counter, and then while I'm cooking dinner, I get a call from my ex, and he's just...
From your ex-boyfriend, not ex-husband.
Oh, yes.
From your ex-boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay. And his name is, what's his first name?
I would prefer...
Let's call him Cat.
Cat, yeah. So
you get a call from Cat. Do you know Cat?
Personally, no, I do not know him.
Have you ever met him?
No, I have not.
Okay. So now you get a call from Cat. And how long has he been your ex-boyfriend?
Well, we just had a situationship, like it was just off and on, but he just called me and I just had him on the phone as speaker and...
So you had him on speakerphone, you're cooking her dinner, she's sitting at the counter.
Yeah, and he starts making flirtatious comments like saying if I had any cute friends near around, and I know it doesn't sound right, but...
It doesn't sound good, Miss Burke.
Yeah, but that's just like, I know him and that's like a different story, but regardless, then
So
Freya...
what was he... I want to know what he was saying.
Well,
you have to tell me, because she probably remembers what he was saying.
I do.
So if you don't remember, I'll ask her. What did he say?
He asked in general if I had any cute friends near me or any around. Just saying if there was any cute friends near me. So that he...
Okay, so your ex-boyfriend calls you and asks you if you have any cute friends around.
Yes.
And you didn't just hang up on him.
Well, yes. I told him, I said that I can't, see him tonight and that he shouldn't be saying that. But the call ended because he had to go because he had to go back to work. So it ended quick.
Wait just a second. He must have said something that annoyed her.
That was it. He just asked
What did he say? Okay. You don't remember. What did he say?
He called her. They were talking for a minute, and then she was saying, oh, I miss you, this and that. And he was like, can I come over? At which point she told him, oh, I'm with my two friends. And he was like, oh, what do they look like? Are they cute? How old are they? Which I thought was disrespectful to me and also disrespectful to her. I was trying to be a good friend. I informed her of it. And
No. So he was acting like a guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Think before you talk. There's no filter here. So he's saying, oh, really? You can't come over? You have two friends? Are they cute? Are they nice looking? And just to tell you, Miss Brown, I don't think it was disrespectful. I just think it's a stupid remark.
No,
Do you understand?
I understand,
It's
but
just stupid.
The tone and then the content, because it was on speaker, I could hear everything. So
when he hung up, what did you say to her?
after they hung up, I didn't say anything to her. She said to me, she was like, you don't know him, we're in love.
And you said to her?
Basically saying, I don't know him. So I was like, yes, you're completely right, I don't know him, but I don't want to hang out with him, basically is what I told her.
Well, was he coming over?
No, I was just telling her,
And what's your version? After he hung up, let me hear your version of what she said.
Okay, so after I hung up, it was just practically some of what she said, but it was more in an aggressive way and with a lot of attitude. And
show me.
I get done with the phone and I'm cooking, and then she wants to humble under her breath and say I don't know, just rude things about the call and just looking at me weird. And I'm like, what's the problem? And I was
Okay, so she's looking at you weird, and you say, what's the problem? And she says,
I don't know. She was going off and about, and then she started throwing trash on my counter and then threw it at me.
Your Honor.
Yeah, you did.
That is not true.
No, I have to tell you something. So far, it makes sense. But then I don't want you to tell me she just went from nothing disrespect to throwing food around the counter. That didn't happen.
That did not.
Okay, so before she started throwing the trash on my counter, she was saying how that I had attitude, but I was telling her that I didn't have attitude. I was trying to de-escalate the situation by talking to her.
Attitude. So far, we're not attitude. So far, she's mumbling.
No, that's what
you
she
said
said.
under her breath.
Yeah, and then so she, I don't know, she would, like I said, it was a snap of a finger. I'd never seen her switch like that. And, I was confused. And then after she threw the trash, I told her to grab your stuff and get out of my house. And so I gave her time. She went in my room, grabbed her stuff. I waited by the door. I had it wide open. And she's just cursing and yelling and I didn't want her in my house. And if I would have known she was like that.
No, let's not. Don't go down any tributaries. When you got out to the car, she had a brick in her hand. Was there any damage to the car?
Yes, I have photos, proof to the left driver's side, and there's a video as well of the neighbor's Ring camera showing her vandalizing my car.
Okay, I'll see the video.
Autumn Burke claims her former friend, Freya Brown, owes for vandalism and an assault. Freya is countersuing for an assault and filing a false police report.
There's a piece that I'm missing from this story, but let's say they're following your timeline. It probably makes sense as you got into an argument. You said to her, he's really not that way. He's really a nice guy, and I love him. And she said, well, somebody who really loves you doesn't say, I want to come over and hang out with your two good-looking friends. That could escalate into something that's angry.
Your Honor. Well, the thing is, when she did mention those things, they weren't calm as you expressed. Yes. They weren't. They were very aggressive.
They could have been aggressive, but that's... They were not. They could have been aggressive.
I didn't see a reason why it should have been that way at all.
Listen, I'm not saying I agree with you or not. But I'm saying that common sense dictates to me that if you're on the phone with somebody that you still like and that you're an on-again, off-again, and you can't come over today because I have two friends here. Oh, really? You have two friends? Maybe I'll come over and hang out with your two friends. She found that disrespectful. I actually find it disrespectful to you and disrespectful to him. You really have nothing to do with it, Miss Brown. Somebody else was being a schlemiel.
No, I mean, I wasn't saying like...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now you tell her to get out, open her things. She's out the door, and?
Well, no, she's not out the door yet. So then I have the door wide open. She comes, and then we're still, argumenting, and I'm trying to get her out of my house. She pushes me, and then I go back into... Yes, it is. I go back into the door, and then she starts hitting on my arm, hitting me, so I'm, defending back, and it was just crazy. I didn't realize I had the door wide open for her to get out, peacefully. And
okay, so she pushes you, she puts her hands on you, you put your hands on her, pushing. And up until that point, there's a lot of maybe pushing, touching the arms, touching the hand, but nobody is injured. Is that a fair statement, standing at the door?
Well, I got assaulted because I have the pictures to show that my nail came off.
No, I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Up until that time, did your nail come off during that time?
Yes.
Was it a real nail or a fake nail?
Both. Both of my nails came off. It was
on the same finger. You had a fake nail over your real nail.
And it both ripped off.
Okay. I'll take a look. Okay, I see a black and blue mark here that's under here. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes.
And this is on your hand.
Yes.
What was this?
From blocking her hitting me.
What was she hitting you with?
Just her hands. She was just like a cat fight. She just went crazy. And so I was defending her out, trying to get her out of my house.
Okay. Did you respond to her hitting you?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have any photographs?
Yes, I do have
I'd like to take a look. So I see a scratch above your eye and a little bruise on this part of your hand. Is that what it is?
Yes, on my wrist.
And then there's a bruise on, is it this part of your elbow?
My elbow, yes.
Okay, so now you're arguing with each other. You both get banged up a little bit. Now she's outside.
Yes.
And what did you do? You finally got her out the front door.
So after a few minutes, she called me and said, "Warning, I'm at your car." So when I heard that, I called the cops immediately, and I asked them to come down because I think she's going to be vandalizing my car or God knows what. And then so when that happened, me and my witness, Jasmine, we walked down out of my house because I wanted to go see if my car, what was going on. And so as I'm walking out, my car's parked over here. Freya's over here. And so when I'm walking out, then I meet her right here, and she has a brick in her hand. And Yeah, she had a brick in her hand the whole time until the cops came, and then they arrested her, and they asked me if I wanted to file for assault and vandalization, and I said yes.
Okay, and when you got out to the car, she had a brick in her hand. Was there any damage to the car?
Yes, I have photos, proof to the left driver's side, and there's a video as well of the neighbor's Ring camera showing her vandalizing my car.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let me see the damage, and then I'll see the video.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll see the video.
Okay.
Okie dokie. That's where you were arrested, Miss Brown?
Yes.
Have you ever seen that video before?
I have not.
You have not?
No.
Okay. Can I see the estimates to the damage
Yes,
to your
ma'am.
car? Tell me when you bought this car.
I bought this car on August 1st in 2022. It was my first car. I paid for it full, all by myself.
You paid for it in cash?
Yes, and a check.
Okay. How long had you been saving for the car?
Oh, I've been saving for it for years, like a few years, ever since I've been working.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid a total of, I believe, $7,300 and something dollars.
Okay. So the estimate to fix the car is $3,777.
Yes, ma'am.
And the next thing is the price of the vehicle, for which you paid $7,350.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Brown, one would say to you as a result of seeing that video, temper, 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 you may have a temper, you can't do what you did. Would you acknowledge that you can't do what you did?
Yes, I acknowledge.
Great. So that means that you have to take care of this problem.
She hit me first, Your Honor.
And we're not talking about hitting.
I understand.
I'm talking about vandalizing a car. She says the weapon was a knife.
It was.
And the knife was being held by you.
Yes, that's
So you
self-defense.
took. No, it's not in self-defense anymore, madam. It's not self-defense. She's out. She's away from you.
Autumn Burke has accused her former friend, Freya Brown, of vandalism and assault. Freya claims Autumn threatened her with a knife and filed a false police report.
Neither one of you were hospitalized as a result of this assault. You got a couple of black and blue marks. Two girls
also
had a
threatened
fight,
me with a
and
knife.
that shouldn't have happened. But now the fight is de-escalated, and you went outside and purposely vandalized her car in a very, very aggressive way. And all I'm saying to you is, you understand that that was temper, temper, temper. You're not allowed to do that, and you have to pay for it.
She also threatened me with a knife.
She what?
Threatened me with a knife.
Just a second. I didn't see that when you were out there by yourself picking up a brick, right?
Yes.
And that was a long video. I don't see her in that video at all. I just see you picking up the brick, not doing enough damage, picking it up, doing a little more damage, picking it up, going to another side of the car, picking it up, going to the front of the car. I don't see her there threatening you.
She didn't threaten me at that point.
Right. Clearly, when you left the house, that ugly confrontation had been de-escalated.
It had not actually.
Of course it was, because you were out there by yourself. You could have gone. And if it was an ugly confrontation, you go to the police station and you say, I left my license in my friend's car. We had a fight. Could you come back with me on a standby and get my license, instead of using a brick to bash in her car?
My circumstances were different from Autumn's. I would like to inform you of that.
What were your different circumstances?
Well, I was supposed to be moving in 3 days, which Autumn was aware of. So had I called the police and been like, oh, I need this help, then I would have jeopardized my housing.
Oh, no, that's not true. Sorry. Sorry about that, Miss Brown. If you called the police and merely said to them, I don't want to have an argument with her, that would not have jeopardized your getting into housing. Having this fight and vandalizing her car, that could prevent you from getting into housing.
That's what got me kicked out.
I'm not just telling you. Calling the police is not an issue. Going outside and for a period of probably at least 60 seconds and moving from different parts of her car and hitting it with a brick and bending down and picking up the brick again, that would prevent you from getting into housing.
I wasn't referring to the calling the police, I meant the fighting.
Oh, I'm not talking about the fighting. $37.75, that's the cost of fixing the car. Now, the only other issue that you have on your counterclaim is for being falsely arrested.
Yes.
I would arrest you for that. You should be. Listen, if I came out of my house and found somebody bashing my property, I don't care if we had a long-standing feud. Well, I have a long-standing feud with her. We had an argument. We had a fight, whatever. That is not the natural progression of having an altercation with an old friend, going out and vandalizing her car. So your countersuit for being falsely arrested is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,775.
Your Honor, I'm going to be rightfully for losing my housing during that process because of that incident, because of the transitional housing program I was in. I got kicked out of it, and so I had 30 days. So I believe I should be getting for that as well because it was.
Where's the head of the Department of Social Services to testify before me that the reason you lost your housing, if in fact you did lose your housing, was because of this vandalism? You have a witness here to tell me that?
I have the 30 days notice, if that counts.
May?
Yes.
I'll take a look.
Oh, here it is.
This says, letters to give you written 30-day notice to move out of the transitional housing program. You were involved in a verbal physical altercation which involved a weapon with another individual and resulted in the police being called on September 1st, 2022. When you entered the program, you were informed and signed paperwork and agreeing to our program rules and expectations. Who was it alleged that had the weapon?
She had a knife.
I bought it as self-defense. I dropped it right when I saw you.
Just a second.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I
Just
did.
a second. But just a second. She says the weapon was a knife.
It was.
And the knife was being held by you.
Yes, that's
So you
self-defense.
took. No, it's not in self-defense anymore, madam. It's not self-defense. She's out. She's away from you. Your choice is to call the police and wait. Your choice is not to pick up a knife, because so far, this altercation has been a lot of tussling between girls that shouldn't have happened, but so far nothing involved a weapon. So you went outside with a knife, and according to the rules, you can't do that. And that was the reason that you lost your housing, because there's no other reason. It said it involved a weapon, and they listed the rules: drugs, alcohol, assault, danger, making threats. Well, you have a knife, that's threats, whatever. 3775. Fix your car. You're not allowed to do that to her car. That's a hissy fit. Figure out how to do it. Your counterclaim's dismissed. You should have been arrested for vandalism. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I was in shock. I was like, wow, over no reason, over my ex calling me, come on, we're adults now. I'm gonna move on with my life and just go up from here and not down here where other people like to take me down to their level. I'm super thankful to have her handle my case today. She is a queen.
You know what I was really impressed with both of those girls, Sarah? You know, I know the foster care system, usually wherever it is, can be a brutal system to negotiate. And these two young women, at least on the surface, appear to have negotiated it in an orderly, reasonable way. I mean, she's living on her own. She evidently worked for a very long time because she saved up and bought her own car. That's a lot of response. That's a big deal.
And to even be able to figure out the system, which even as lawyers, sometimes we have a difficult time navigating things in the foster care system, to figure out this transitional program that better sets you up for the next step, that sets you up better for the next step. I respected that she took the time to figure out their best possible options for navigating the system that they were placed in.
Both working.
Yes.
Both going to school to try to get themselves into a better circumstance. The defendant certainly is a biology major, which is fascinating
Not
to
our
me.
thing.
Not our thing.
Great for her.
but clearly bright young women who made it to a place at age 19 that's really terrific. And supportive of each other, because one had a license, one didn't, so they were supporting each other. All very lovely. And get into a kerfuffle over nothing.
It shows just how fast all that work and all that preparation for the next step and for the housing can just crumble.
Can just unravel. Really sad. That's sad. But they seem like two nice young women, and I think that they have a really, both of them have a shot.
Yeah, to make it.
Hello, xin chào tất cả mọi người quay lại trên đồ của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ cho mình người đó là gấp một con mèo màu xanh nón chuối nhá. Thì các con mèo màu xanh này thì tông màu hôm nay dùng chủ nó là tông màu xanh. Còn dụng cụ làm việc của mình đó là một chiếc thước, một chiếc bút, một là cái tiện này, một kéo, không thiếu đó là một hộp hồ nhá. Hộp hồ. Giờ mình hướng tay vào làm nhé. Đây là một con mèo màu xanh này để 9 cm. Xong mình kẻ nó. cm. Xong kệ nó đây. Gấp tiêu đây vào này. Mở ra không gấp tiêu này nữa. Dùng thước kẻ nó này. Tiếp này nữa. Sau đó cắt phần dư của nó đi. Mình dùng hồ quét nó nhé. Nhằm để 8,5 cm. Mình kèm một đường xuống này. Cắt phần dư vào đi. Xong gộp nó vào như này. Mở ra gấp tiếp này vào này. thuốc kê nó. Cái phần zoom nó đi này. Mùa quyết nó này. Sau đó mình gập nó vào. Theo mình làm phần tay của nó nhé. Tay là mình để này gập đôi lại. Thú lê luôn. Cái phần dư nó nhé. Gắn hai cái tay lên.
Cái hả? Cái pháo tí.
Phú lê.
Đấy.
Gần mắt của nó này.
Nhiều ơi, ra mồ hôi đi gì đấy. Chứ nó không còn chậm với đâu thôi. Em muốn có set của em ngon nghe. Ok anh.
Mua đâu đấy?
Thì bí mà.
Zoom rồi. Zoom nó đi nhé.
Cái đấy, không mua được đâu.
Mình gắn mũi lên này. Chân nó màu đỏ luôn, nét nhỉ. Đây, chân nó màu đỏ các bạn nhé. Như vậy mình đã thành xong con mèo màu xanh lá này rồi. Nếu các bạn thấy hay, hãy cho mình một like, share, một đăng ký kênh nhá. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn chương trình lần sau. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Hôm nay mình sẽ cho mình người đó là gấp một con chó màu xanh lá cây nhá. Nếu con chó xanh lá cây thì tông màu hôm nay mình sử dụng đó là tông màu xanh. Còn cuộc làm việc của mình đó là một chiếc thước, một chiếc bút, một chiếc kéo và một hồ. Giờ mình xước tay vào làm này. Để làm nó việc này là 9 cm. Sau mình cắt vào phần dư của nó đi nhé. Xong kèm một đường thẳng này. Xong cắt phần dư của nó đi. Tiêu này bên này. Rồi ra một tiêu này nữa này. thuốc kê nó. Cắt bên phần du của nó đi. Tiếp theo, cái này mình gấp như vậy vào. Đây là 88 cm. Cắt phần du của nó đi nhé. Gấp tiếp này vào này. Gấp tiêu này vào này. Dùng thuốc kê nó. Gấp tiêu này vào này. Các phần du nó đi này. Quét nó này. Xong gấp tiêu này vào này. Mục tiêu này vào này. Tiếp theo mình làm tay con chó. Tay con chó để không được này thôi. Xong cắt phần du nó đi này. Đồ này mình cắt như vậy nhá. Gắn tay lên. Gắn tay chó lên. Mắt nó màu đỏ. vàng thôi, tôi thử thấy màu vàng không vậy? Không có. Xong cái phần lửa của nó ra. Xong rồi mình quất mắt nó lên đây. Cái này chia làm 3 phần. 1, 2, 4, 5. Rồi một cái đúng. Xong. Phần du nó đi này. Cắt phần du nó đi. Sau cắt tiếp phần mũ của nó. Mình gắn mấy rô lên. Cái này làm chân cho nó nhé, gập đôi như vậy. Thước cắt, kéo cắt vào phần dương của nó đi này. Đấy. Xong rồi mình quay phần tít này, làm hai cái chân cho nó. Như vậy là mình hoàn thành xong con chó màu xanh này rồi. Nếu các bạn thấy hay, hãy cho mình một like, share, một đăng ký kênh nhá. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn chương trình lần sau. Xin chào, hẹn gặp lại. Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn đã quay lại channel của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng mình người đó là gấp một con lợn màu xanh lá nhé. Để gấp được một con lợn màu xanh lá, tông màu hôm nay thử nó tông màu xanh. Còn dụng cụ làm việc của mình đó là một hộp hồ, một chiếc bút, một chiếc kéo và một chiếc thước nhé. Để mình xuống tay vào làm này. Để làm được nó mình để cái này là 9 cm. Xong mình kể nó này, mình kéo phần dư của nó đi. Xong mình kề một đường xuống này, sau đó mình cắt vào phần dư của nó đi. Sau rồi mình gập nó này vào, xong mở nó ra, gấp tiêu này nữa này. Xong rồi mình mở nó ra gấp này, xong rồi mình dùng thước kề nó. Một cái tiêu này nữa này, xong gấp tiêu này vào, mở ra gấp tiêu này nữa này, xong gấp tiêu này vào nữa. Xong rồi cắt phần dư của nó đi này. Hồ quất nó. Mình gập nó vào, gập tiêu này vào nữa này. Tiếp theo là cái này mình để là 85 cm.
Cho ghế đi. Cho cái ghế đi. Cho nhắc ghế đi một tí.
Xong các phần dư của nó đi này. Xong rồi mình gập nó vào. Tiêu này. Mình phước kề nó này. kéo phần dư nó đi. Cho mình gập nó vào này. Gập tiêu này này. Xong gục nó vào. Và tiếp theo các bạn biết làm gì chưa? Theo mình dùng cái này làm tai con lợn. Kéo phần dư nó đi này. Kéo phần dư nó đi này. Cái mép rồi này, cầm cái mép. Cho mình tay. Cái tiếp này vào này, làm chân cho nó. Theo làm tay nó này. giờ mình làm mũi nó này. Rồi mình làm màu đỏ nhé. Ngần mũi nó vào này. Nhắm chân lên này. Tay nó vào nữa. Như vậy mình đã hoàn thành xong con lợn màu xanh rồi. Nếu các bạn thấy hay cho mình một like, share, đăng ký kênh nhé. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn những chương trình lần sau. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại.
Làm nước cơm rồi.
Hello, xin chào các bạn quay lại channel của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ cho mọi người đó là gấp một con lợn màu cam nhé. Gấp một con lợn màu cam thì tông vào hôm nay thì nó tông màu cam. Còn dụng cụ làm việc của mình là một chiếc thước, một chiếc kéo, một chiếc bút và một phù nhé. Bây giờ mình sẽ dùng tay vào làm này. Để làm một vấn đề là 9 cm. Xong cắt phần dư của nó này. Đi xong kê đó này, cắt phần dư của nó đi. Gập nó vào này. Rồi ra gấp tiếp này nữa. Mình dùng thước kể nó này, kế tiếp này này, rồi dùng thước cắt vào phần dư của nó. Này 25 cm. Đây 5 cm này. Gập tiếp vào này vào này. Xong mở ra gập tiếp vào này vào nữa. Cực kỳ nó lên. Nổ ra để gập tiêu này vào này. Dùng thuốc kỳ nó. Cắt phần rưu nó đi này. Dùng cắt nó đi. Rồi, mình đậy được vào như này. Nó mình làm mắt màu xanh nhỉ? Mắt với mũi màu xanh. Đấy, mình thấy cái này. Kéo phần rưu nó đi. Cắt tiếp phần này đi này. Cắt móc lợn đi này. Theo tay chân cho nó. Cái phần rưu nó đi. Tay lên này. Chân này. Với hai cái tay nữa. Tiếp theo chân này mình cắt như vậy luôn. tay nữa này. Gần hai cái tay lộn lên. Chân lên. Như vậy mình hoàn thành xong cái lượt màu cam này rồi. Nếu các bạn hãy cho mình một like, share, đăng ký kênh nhé. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn những kỳ lần sau. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại.